Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call the Ramsey County Budget Committee of the Whole to order. What should we do? No roll call. Okay. So, everyone, thank you for joining us. For those who are in the public, thank you for joining us. And I want to thank everyone who's here in the chamber. A quick highlight, on September the 2nd, we heard from County Manager Becker, who provided an overview of the 2024-25 proposed budget. The proposed 2026-27 budget calls for a levy increase of 9.75% in 2026 and 7.5% in 2027. Meetings with serving teams on this 2026-27 budget starts today, September the 15th, and goes through September the 22nd. The full meeting schedule is available on our public website, ramseycounty.us. Today we'll hear from the strategic team covering operational alignment and the operating budget for finance, human services, the county manager office, and the county board. We'll then hear about the administrative addendum and fee schedule, the debt budget, and the capital improvement plan. Each department director will present details on their department priorities and proposed budget, including an overview of major changes and a discussion of how the county values and the county manager Becker's priorities are reflected in their budget. After each presentation, I will open up the floor for any questions and discussion by the county board. The county board encourages resident participation in the budget process. We want to hear from you. Your voices matter. 2 public hearings are scheduled. Both public hearings will be held in this building, and free parking will be provided to residents who attend in person. Residents are also welcome to submit written comments at any time. All written comments received are shared with each commissioner. Written comments are considered as carefully as comments made verbally be in a public hearing. You can sign up to comment at a hearing as well as submit written comments on the ramseycounty.us website. So the first public hearing will be held on Monday, September the 22nd at 5 p.m. On Tuesday, September the 23rd, the board will set the 2026 maximum property tax levy. The second public hearing will be held on Thursday, December 11th at 6 p.m. Prior to that hearing, residents and businesses will receive their proposed property tax statement. This will include details on the proposed levy for all the taxing jurisdictions, county, city, school board, and others, provide details on how these proposals impact your property. Residents and business owners should look at that information in the mail in mid to late November. All right, so at a board meeting in November, the board will discuss changes to the 26-27 requested by board members, if any. And lastly, on Tuesday, December the 16th, the county board will give final approval of the 2026-27 budget, including any changes approved by the committee, and set the final 2026 property tax levy. And again, the final tax levy will be approved on Tuesday, December the 16th. So keep that in mind, public. Keep that in mind, residents. If you have any comments, please show up for the public hearings. Please send us emails, written statements, and we will listen and read and provide feedback to you at that time. So with that, we're going to open it up to Alex? Oops, okay, we have a question here.
Just a quick question, maybe the county manager could tell us, where do people park?
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, that's a good question. Our free parking is offered at Victory Ramp, and we'll make sure to include the address in the closing statements today.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon. My name is Alex Kutza. I am the Chief Financial Officer for the county, and I am here today with the honor of representing the strategic team and leaders and introducing our budget. It is, as Chair Moran said, it's the first of many budget hearings, but I'm the lucky one who gets to go first, representing our team. So as a team, we have been working for many months to bring this budget together. We have many new leaders in this area, and they've worked hard to learn and influence the 26-27 budget. In the strategic team, we do work that is the foundation of the work that the rest of the county does. We ensure that the rest of the county can easily serve our residents by doing what they do, and we do what we are best at. This includes things like hiring, paying bills, setting policy, improving our work through audits, contracting, investigations, and recruiting top talent to the county. This work supports excellence in our operations across the county, and it's work that supports our residents and ensures all staff can focus on the work they do every day to serve our community. I want to take a moment to provide some historical context that you will hear more about today. In the 22-23 and 24-25 budget, there were significant investments made in foundational excellence. That's what they called it in both of those budgets. If you go back into those narratives, you can find more about that. These investments supported our work and were kind of a precursor to the operational excellence that you see as a priority in this budget. Throughout the Human Resources, Finance, and County Manager budget presentations, you will hear about this because we are operationalizing the work in the 26-27 budget. And this includes the investments that were made in prior years include creation of the audit team in compliance, creation of the grants team in finance, investments in staff to support the purchasing and contracting transformation efforts, investments in the treasury team within finance, payroll support in our HR department, data compliance, and ADA investments. These investments got us to today, and they've helped ensure that we do the necessary work of the county. Today we'll hear more about this as these are being presented, and you will also hear about how we're building on these investments as one Ramsey County to ensure we continue to be excellent in our support of resident-facing work in this county. I want to make sure I take a moment to highlight our investment in our new ERP system, Workday. No one's surprised that I talk about the ERP everywhere I go. Much of the work that we do in the strategic team is focused on our financial and HR systems. We are in the process of implementing a new system for the first time in over 20 years. That's going to change the work we do and how we do the work. You will hear mention of this throughout today and in other presentations, and also we'll hear about a significant investment being made in our capital budget into this program. So today, just to tee up, first you're going to hear from DCM Joanna Berg on operational alignment. Then I'll be back to present on finance, and we'll hear from each of 4 leaders in the departments of finance, human resources, county manager, and county board. We will also be presenting the fee schedule and the addenda. The fee schedule you look at today and you pass in December, and it outlines all of the fees that the county publicly charges folks for the services we do. The addenda is actually adjustments for changes that happen between when the county manager did her budget and today. It's a short period of time, but things happen through RBA's technical changes and other errors that are documented. We'll do a second addenda in December. We will also spend some time on debt, investment, and bonding and the capital improvement program. Before I turn it over to the other leaders here, I need to do a little housekeeping just as the CFO so you know what you have in front of you. We handed out a reference document that has all of the major changes listed by department. This will be posted online, and we hope it's a helpful tool to help track the budget changes. It's the larger legal size document that you have in front of you. We'll continue to refine this throughout the process. When we get to the fee schedule and addenda, we'll be handing those out for you so you can follow along during that time. And then in every department narrative, so throughout all this week and next week presentations, there will be a major change bullet that points out investments made in this budget for the classification and compensation increases that were bargained in 2025 for 2025, 26, and 27. This is a significant investment in our staff and the important work that they do. It also includes detail on the IS and property management increases, so you should consistently see that throughout. And some people will highlight it and others won't as much, but it will be there for you to understand where they are in that piece. All right, and before I leave my intro today, I want to thank a few people. I want to thank Susan Earle, our budget director, who left the county but did a ton of work to get the budget where it is today. I want to thank Patience Ferguson, Kristen Schultz, and Maria Sarabia for being my partners in doing this budget and in this work. I want to thank the policy and planning team who helped a lot with this budget and supports the strategic team work in this area. And I need to quickly thank the budget team, Bianca, Lance, Mike, Oscar, Jonathan, and Mung. Without their support, they're going to be here every day, so make sure you meet them and say hi to them. Without them, this budget book literally wouldn't have happened. So thank you very much. With that, I will turn it over to DCM Berg.
Thank you so much, Chief Financial Officer Kutzer.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome, Deputy County Manager Burge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to be here today to walk you through the organizational alignment material, which begins on page 11 of your budget book. We began this organizational alignment journey a year ago with clear direction from our policymakers to reduce the size of the Health and Wellness Service Team and to enhance our focus on operational excellence. I want to extend my thanks to Tara Bach and to Rachel Molnauer for all of their work in developing the direction that you see in front of you today. With the January 2026 implementation of the new organizational structure, the work of our small organizational alignment team will sunset. But seeing through the organizational alignment initiative will remain a major effort through the upcoming biennium. The 2026-2027 strategic plan will include a new operational excellence strategic priority focused on completing and embedding this work. The county manager's proposed budget rebalances service teams and creates leadership capacity so every part of Ramsey County can adapt to our future. As you review the major changes, I want to note that you will not see the organizational alignment major changes replicated in department material. So don't look to crosswalk that through the presentations to come. Rather, the approved budget will reflect the updated structure and new positions. The organizational alignment major changes detailed here fall into three major categories. First, creating leadership capacity, enabling us to lead through the complex challenges we face in the upcoming biennium. Second, moving to consistent and sustainable countywide support structures where we do not have those in place today. And third, realigning some service team work to countywide structures. Our updated organizational structure is on page 13 of your document. It provides more balanced service teams that are aligned strategically, enhance cross-department collaboration, and bolster organizational excellence in operations. With the alignment into new service teams, the current strategic team and the information and public records service team will sunset at the end of 2025. As part of the new structure, we will be launching a new county operations service team that will be headed by a deputy county manager who will serve as the county's chief operations officer. This team will house many departments, you see them listed on page 13, that provide internal business support to other county departments. Additionally, you see a new community services and support service team that will be led by Deputy County Manager Karen Francois. This team will house departments that focus on eligibility-based resident-facing programs. The two organizational charts you see here on page 13 are the same as County Manager Becker shared last week. That's just not as pretty of a graphic. A well-defined and highly functional organizational structure is a backbone to achieving operational excellence. However, moving forward, we will be laser focused on one Ramsey County, centering residents, not county structures, to ensure seamless and coordinated service delivery. We will continuously align our work to serve our community holistically, not constrained by reporting or organizational structures. As we're working through a period of transition, I want to flag that the county manager's proposed budget is organized according to our current organizational structure. The service team presentations over the coming days will follow the organizational structure for budget development and presentations, which I believe you also have on paper today. Excellent. And the county board's approved budget will reflect the updated organizational structure. With that, I am happy to take your questions.
Any questions?
Madam
Oh,
Chair.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Zong.
Is this it for the presentation? Is this where we can also ask questions about what's proposed in the major items?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. My first question is around just the administrative support for each of the service team. My current understanding with our current structure already is that we do have an administrative office for our service teams. May you explain more about those positions that are being added?
Sure. The county manager's budget proposes 5 administrative directors, 1 for each service team. And you are correct, Commissioner, that there is a service team organizational structure, but not all service teams have administrative leads in those roles. We thought very carefully here about the balance of additional positions that we need to execute against both the challenges that are coming as well as the initiatives that we want to move forward in the coming years. We had very clear input from our senior management team, from our leaders, that current initiatives really lack clear leadership and a sustainable support structure, and also that we had limited management capacity to carry forward the work of the policymakers as well as the work of our strategic plan and the challenges that are coming our way. So this is a deliberate investment in additional administrative resources to embed the work of operational excellence and to provide capacity to do all of that work in an equitable manner across the service teams.
Commissioner Zong. Is that?
Yeah, I think for me, as I'm looking at each of the team, there have been some. So for the teams that already had the administrative department or office within their service team already, I would be asking later on about what would that include, or that work and how it gets operationalized, I guess. Yeah,
Sure.
because as you said, some of the service teams already do have an administrative function or even an administrative office.
They have an office, Commissioner, to be clear. What they do is different, and standardizing that matters. Some of them don't have the office at all and do not have that administrative director role. In fact, I don't think any of them have that administrative director role at the service team level to coordinate and carry forward that work across the service team. But I'm happy to provide you with more information on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Deputy County Manager Berg, although wait, I think you have a different title. Oh yeah, no, it's still there. Could you just explain a little bit more about our Chief Financial Officer, which really is finance, where is that person, Alex Kutza, who we know and appreciate as our CFO, where would that be now? Where would that position be? Is it under finance, or is it up in the other? I understand now she reports directly to the county manager. But
correct. So today we have departments in the strategic team, Commissioner, that we have department heads reporting to the county manager. The CFO is an example of that. The Chief Financial Officer leads the finance department, right? So it's the department head as well as the Chief Financial Officer. That position in the future structure will report to the Chief Operations Officer. Similarly, the Chief Information Officer leads the Information Services department. That individual also will report to the Chief Operating Officer. So we're bringing together the operational functions of the organization under the leadership of a COO.
I appreciate that. So we'll have a COO, but not a CFO. The CFO will be in finance, though. The CFO will be in finance and report to the COO.
I apologize, I think I explained that poorly.
Okay.
The COO, the Chief Operating Officer, will be a deputy county manager who will be a direct report to the county manager. We have today and will continue to have a CFO. That person runs the finance department. The change here is that the CFO in 2026 will report to the Chief Operating Officer rather than to the county manager.
I see. Okay, just wanted to be clear about
No,
that.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you. No, that you explained it. You actually explained it that way the first time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Yes, so looking at this, I'm just wondering if the proposed structural alignment is consistent with other organizations of this complexity and size. I mean, I know that we've had some conversations about whether or not, I guess the term people say is top-heavy, and I just want to give you an opportunity to say you've put a lot of time and thought into this proposed structure and how this would compare to other organizations, again, of this complexity and size. Are we comparable? Is this more, less?
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate the question. Part of the research that we did as part of our organizational alignment work was to go out and look at other counties and comparably sized organizations and compare ourselves in terms of what was organized where and gaps. We did that here. We overall need and will benefit from additional management resources in these places. This is really a both and budget, right? We need additional staff positions and we are investing in those. We need additional management positions and we are investing in those here. This is a reflection of where we see gaps today in our ability to execute against the strategic directions that we are attempting to execute against. And as we look ahead to what's coming from the state and the federal government, both, frankly, shoring up our operations so that we are best poised to move forward.
So just as a follow-up to that, what would be some of the outcomes that we would see with these investments being made? How would we experience what that would mean as an improvement to our organization?
Commissioner, I think we're going to have opportunity for people to do things like look for additional revenue sources. One of the pieces of feedback that we get from our managers is, I don't have time to think, I don't have time to plan for a future. All I'm doing is reacting to what's coming at me right now. We know the value of having time to look for funding sources, to think through operational improvements. Where are we duplicating efforts, not only within our organization, but for those of you who were at the GIPTAC meeting this morning, having conversations with other jurisdictions about where can we look for opportunity to work more effectively and efficiently together. These positions will be part of doing that work, and those will be the resources that we will be relying on.
Thank you.
Commissioner McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So question for the positions, the departments that are under county manager, under the county manager's office, are all those positions, do they answer to the county manager or is it the office of chief of staff? Just making sure I understand in regards to government relations, the policy, admin strategy, and comms, who do they answer to?
Those departments will answer to Chief of Staff Sarabia, similar to departments and other service teams answering to that deputy county manager. The Chief of Staff is a direct report to the county manager.
Gotcha.
DCM Bird, one of the things that came to my attention early around like staffing, now we're adding 5 more administrative positions, and what I was sometimes hearing from like the frontline workers, that it will be a time where they can just go to their supervisor and get a response. But now there's so many layers to go through to get an answer. Do you see it being more complicated than simplifying for those who are doing the work to get a response back?
I would say, Commissioner, that if there are staff that need to go through multiple lines of management to get an answer to a question, that's an issue within that department that we should be looking at from an operational excellence perspective in that particular department. That is not the norm in my experience, which is not to say it is not occurring in the organization.
Do you think we can get a visual of that? Because I have a visual here in front of me of like safety and justice, and then you line it up with the medical examiner and on. But I need a visual of what we're doing here with DCMs, managers, directors, assistant directors, administrative. So can we get a visual of that?
Certainly, we'd be happy to provide that.
That'd be helpful. Any other questions?
Thank you. I will turn it back over to CFO Kutza. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for having me again, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I am here to present the 2026-2027 Finance Department budget. I am the lucky leader of our finance team who starts, if you go to your book on page 57, I will be presenting from there.
What's the page number again?
57.
57.
Starts on page 57. Give you a moment. Okay. So, as I said, I'm the lucky leader of the finance department. Our department is made up of 78 dedicated employees who work in debt and investment, accounting and payroll, budget, purchasing and contracting, and our capability team, which we partner with IS on. Every day we focus on making sure we do our work with integrity by being transparent and ensuring we align with best practices and following accounting and budget principles. We also focus on equity, especially when looking at our processes to address systemic racism and look for new tools to change how we do our work. This is core to the work that finance does every day. In the 26-27 budget, we make multiple investments that you see in the major changes on page 58 and 59. These will further the county manager priorities of organizational excellence and One Ramsey County. First, I want to highlight the major changes that are in support of organizational excellence. This budget invests in 4 new positions for finance. These are really important positions to our team, and they will help support the purchasing and contracting team with lead positions to focus on IT and supplies, equipment, and material contracts. Those are areas that need a specialized expertise, and having a lead will help us a lot in furthering how we do our contracts with community providers in that area. In addition, it also supports an additional budget analyst to align with the organizational alignment and make sure that we do this budget work well and follow how we're structured as a county, and an accountant to help across the entire strategic team / operations team and support all of their departments. We've never had a strategic team-wide or operations-wide accountant. We've had a partial controller, and it's really important to make sure that we've kind of piecemealed that work, and in order to make sure that we do that really well, this is a position that we've been hoping for quite some time, and we're really appreciative that it's in this budget. In addition, as I mentioned earlier, we are operationalizing the foundational excellence investments made in this area. It includes 8 FTEs, which is a lot in our organization, but that includes the purchasing area. We've made some major investments in the purchasing and contracting transformation over the past few years, as many of you know. It establishes the grants area within finance, which we didn't have prior to 2024, and treasury FTEs. Some of that worked, some of you know, some of that work shifted from our information and public records area into finance a couple of years ago, and we needed to shore up some of the work wherever it was to do cash management, receipting, investment, and debt work there. In addition, we invest in an administrative position to support the work across finance. That's a half position to make one full position across that we're sharing in multiple areas. We recognize 2 FTEs that we created previously but accounted for in this budget, and then we eliminate 1 management position that is no longer needed in finance. When we looked at all of these needs, we really focused on how do we do our work best, as I said earlier, to support the entire county, and we believe these changes in FTEs do just that. I also want to talk about revenue. So,
Before you
yes.
move to revenue, I'm gonna move back a little bit
Sure.
around procurement.
Yes.
Because this is so timely with what I think I'm hearing from, like, community.
Happy
And
to.
as far as community, well, we do a really good job of, like, engaging community in our processes, and we ask them to give up their time to come out and support projects and procedures that we are initiating here in Ramsey County. But there seems to be a delay in payment to them. And with the adding of 8 new positions into procurement, do you think we can find a process that over the last 20 years has been a big complaint about not being able to pay community members in a timely manner?
Madam Chair,
Right. And I don't know what that looks like, but clearly we have a structural piece in place that is not working for all, and that would be like the community.
thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I appreciate the question, and I want to be clear, my purchasing and contracting team doesn't actually pay anyone, nor do they approve invoices for contracts. So this, I'm not saying this isn't finance work, it's absolutely finance work that we do in partnership with every department across the county, but they don't actually pay people, right? They get the contracts done, executed, and then they follow up to make sure they're invoicing. Even on our website, I always like to shout out on our website, you can find a draft invoice. If you're an organization that does business with us, please go out there and look. That has all the information and make sure you give us what we need to pay you timely. We want to pay people timely. We have a 35-day rule that we have to pay interest if we're not paying our bills within 35 days. That being said, as some of us know, there's a process to get there, and it doesn't always happen. And oftentimes, if it's either an individual or smaller organization, you have to establish yourself as a vendor in Ramsey County. So I'd like to, if we could, take this out of this room and have a conversation about that particular process and get some of my department partners like the controllers there too, because they have some control over how we process those things too that are less in the finance field. And it's like, all the things have to line up to make sure it goes well, and I want to make sure everyone's at the table for that conversation.
Okay. It would be good to take that off of here, but to have a really good conversation around that process that is really clear on the front end, because we get the complaints on the back end, and somewhere there's a disconnect of the process and expectation. So that'd be
Absolutely.
great to
I
have.
understand that. Oftentimes, as you pointed out, Madam Chair, is if you set the expectation up front, then people understand the time frame that it might take, and we definitely want to do that.
Commissioner Zone.
Thank you. I'm trying to follow some of the FTEs, especially in both the narrative as well as the presentation and here. When I was looking at just the org chart, and it states about the 2025 approved FTEs, it states 64.5, but in the supplemental budget approved, it was actually just 47. And then there were like, I was just looking at the numbers and the FTEs, and they just weren't lining up with what was approved in the supplemental budget. So my question is, were there actions that have been taken already too, and some of the organizational realignment that you're, I guess, realizing here? Yeah.
Okay, Madam Chair, Commissioner Zhang, I'm going to take my best guess at this. I don't have the prior budget sitting in front of me, but what happened in '24 that would have impacted, so the '25 supplemental budget gets passed or gets presented in September of 2024. In October of 2024, we consolidated the purchasing and contracting from all across the county, which moved FTEs from places like health and wellness and EGCI and other places into finance. And my guess is that was done, well, I know it was done through addenda and different work that moved them internally. We worked with all of our department partners and we said, hey, this is what we think should move. And then we reassigned those folks into finance. And this is the budget where it catches up to what happened in real life in 2024 and 2025 in terms of purchasing and contracting. I can follow up with an email that lays out the number of FTEs that impacted, but that is what I believe happened, why you're seeing different numbers between the two.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So I've heard from many of you and also from our county manager about talking about organizational excellence. And part of that is looking at all of our revenue streams and how we support the work we do. As you may have noticed, in finance, we are recognizing an additional $1 million of revenue. That's a lot of money. And we have a team of people, some of who are here, who spend a lot of time making sure we make smart investments on behalf of Ramsey County taxpayers with our dollars. So when we have dollars in our bank, we're investing them just like other people invest their money within the confines of the investment policy and state law. So we've done that super successfully. This team has done that super successfully. Most jurisdictions charge a fee to their investment income in order to pay for the staff and the advisors it takes to make those investments. Ramsey County had never done that previously. We are starting to do that now to align with best practices, what other jurisdictions do. That will help us pay for the staff that do this work, the advisors that help make sure we do it well, and overall the strategic team budget. It's a source of revenue. We call it a fee, so when you see it, it's called a fee. It's a fee to our own investment income. It's not a fee we charge others. So that's, I think this is a big success story for us. If you look at the investment income earned over the past number of years since our division director, Boynt Kania, who's going to present later, has really focused on this area, we have made a lot of money on the money that we are entrusted with, and that helps defray the tax levy and other parts of this budget. So that is that $1 million.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Is that the, on page 62, is that the increase of charge from service from 142,000 in fiscal year 25 to over $1 million in 26 and 27?
Exactly.
So that's what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
There's $1 million. There's other small changes, so that's what it nets out to.
Great, thanks.
Okay, Commissioner McGuire.
Close.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Commissioner
you know,
Garrison.
It happens all the time.
I was looking at you saying the name. Okay, sorry about that.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. And you may be getting to this just on the work that you all are doing around revenue generators. This is one aspect that I will continue to bring up throughout this entire process because I think it's so important that we're looking at ways to diversify our revenue stream. So hopefully we can reduce the burden that's on property owners and on the levy. On page 6, you mentioned kind of the supporting and building up of the grants office, and I think this will be an important new office as we're thinking of ways to generate revenue. To that point, is there a projected goal on how much in grant revenue we are hoping to bring in FY 26 and 27? Like, I just want to get a better sense of what the success look like with the new grant office.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, what a good question, and I'm right there with you on the revenue, right? This is very new to us. We have hired one person. She's been here, I think, a year-ish, has done a great job of basically tracking, making sure we know, she's presented here, Kim Closey, where all the grants are coming in from, how are we managing them, how do we sign into all the different systems that the federal government wants us to sign into, and then someone leaves the county and we're like, how do you sign into this, right? So we're doing a lot of that work. Also strategically thinking about when is it best to apply for a grant, when is it best to support a community partner in their application for a grant. So sometimes you can't measure what Ramsey County gets, you want to measure what Ramsey County as a whole with our community partners gets. Kim is in the process of hiring 2 more positions to help us with exactly what you said, applying for grants and looking at our revenue, not just grant revenue, but how are we trending on lots of different revenues. We don't have a specific, I'm going to speak a little bit as a CFO here. Oh, I guess I am the CFO right now here in this presentation, but I forget sometimes. I've been in a lot of roles. We want to make sure something's coming in before we put it in the budget because it puts a budget at risk, right? So in this particular case, in my mind, success would be paying for that team and being able to build it bigger. In addition to that, it'd be great if all of the departments and some of our community providers feel that they have the support of Ramsey County in doing this grant work. But there isn't a dollar amount here. I feel like I need 2 more years of knowing what's the work they're doing before, as your CFO, I would advise you to put that into a budget. But it is something we will track in general of where we are with those investments and what we feel we've influenced bringing in.
Commissioner Garrison, you done?
Yep, thank you.
Madam Chair, may I just follow up on that? You know, with this grants office, I'm reminded that in our last budget, the 24-25, we did fund that from the foundational excellence investments, right? And we did fund 9 FTEs for 24 and 10 for 25. So are these additional FTEs that you're adding?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair and Commissioner Zhang, for the question. They are not. What's happening when we did that, and the 9 FTs and the 10 FTs, and before that it was 11.2 FTs in 2022, we put them in a centralized place, partially because we were still figuring out where all the work was going to land. For example, the grants area, we weren't sure where it was going to land. It landed in finance, but we were still working through where is the best place for that to be in the county. And then as people filled those positions, this is like the first to fill was the county attorney's office. So shout out to the county attorney. He filled his, we moved the money, the site like in the 24-25 budget. For these, we're now taking that money that was in a centralized account and we're moving it into the areas where they're doing the work. So it's not new money, it's not new FTs, it's simply moving it from a centralized account into finance, and now finance is responsible for the treasury work, for the grants work, for the purchasing and contracting work.
County Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to address Commissioner McMurtry's question as well. I think in an ideal state, it would be wonderful if we were always on the offensive when it comes to grants revenue, but we're in a mode of defense right now, of trying to making sure that, you know, we are being thoughtful about not only which grants we apply for, but also doing an assessment to understand kind of our risk exposure when it comes to our grants. So much of the time that Kim has been with us this year has also spent working on the Federal Response Action Team as well, trying to understand our grant, just how many grants that we get, where they all are, and what our exposure is. So I do think, you know, what you say is very true, that we want to be proactive, but we're also in a mode right now where we have to better understand our exposure to the grants in terms of intergovernmental revenues. But also the last thing I was going to say is I really appreciated what the CFO said around community-based organizations. We should definitely be more thinking about the number of resources we bring to Ramsey County, in the big word of Ramsey County, not the organization, because sometimes we are not the best entity that should receive those funds. So whether it's convening, helping, giving the written descriptions, the data, you know, our letters of support, lots of ways where we can help community organizations get money as well. So thank you.
So pardon me, Commissioner McMurtry.
All good. And you kind of answered my follow-up question to that is, what does that support for those community organizations look like? And you mentioned letter of support, and do we, if we come across grants through this department and say, hey, that would be a great opportunity for this organization, do we proactively, you know, flag that for them? Like, is that the level of engagement that we're trying to commit to with supporting community organizations as they look for grants as well?
Yeah, I can take that question as well. I definitely think that's more at the department head level. I think that's a practice that, you know, everyone needs to flex some muscle in, as understanding your partner ecosystem. Exactly why we have advancing partnerships being a key part of our budget strategy. We really aren't, you know, designed where we should, as a county, do all the work. We should position organizations in the community and then ensure that they have the resources of data, you know, like you said, you know, convening, expert technical assistance, whatever they need in order to, you know, best complete those grants and be successful in getting them. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Zhang, did that answer your question? You'll hear more. I just wanted to add to you'll hear more of that from both my partners in Human Resources and the County Manager's Office. They have the other FTEs that are being operationalized in this budget. So again, it's just a move. Nothing is new. But you see it here. It looks like an increase. It's just a move in the county.
Okay, great.
I just want to say I do appreciate the intentionality here in focusing and looking at the grants and making a big part of what we do as we try to grow revenue, so that we are not so dependent on a levy. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, I only have 2 more major changes left. So in support of thinking through one Ramsey County and that priority of the county manager, Finance is investing in $100,000, investing $100,000 to review our countywide indirect cost plan and ensure that it follows best practices and is updated to reflect the work we do today in the county. So you ask yourself, what is a countywide indirect cost plan? Basically, this is how we charge out departments like HR, finance, and overhead departments to all the other areas to recoup revenue. So, for example, if we're going to get a grant and the grant pays 15% of overhead, we want to charge what it costs to hire those people, what it costs to pay those bills to those grants and to other areas that are grant or revenue funded. This is how we do it. It's really good practice to check on and relook at your indirect cost allocation plan regularly to ensure it's accurate and to ensure that we're capturing as much as we can from other revenue sources for the work that we do. Because without the work that all these operational teams do, you can't do those grants, right? You can't hire the people, you can't pay the bills, you can't enter into the contracts. So that's what that is, and we're looking forward to doing that. In addition, we are investing $100,000 to continue to be part of the CERT Small Business Program in partnership with Hennepin, Minneapolis, and St. Paul. We have always invested in this program. This is something we've kind of done like, oh, I hope we have enough money to pay for part of this. We're putting it in the budget to be intentional. It's also going up some because we've really invested in that program as a region to make sure that we've hired someone to help us do much of that work. And so this is kind of putting that piece into our budget. This program, along with our disparity study, will help achieve some of our performance measures in finance around intergenerational wealth building.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Those collective investments, is that making up the bulk of the additional $500,000 in professional services in 26 and 27, or is that a different line item?
No, that would be that line item. I'll have to look what the rest of it is. My guess is that we've been using some contractors to do work when we don't have all the staff we need. So like an accountant, sometimes you can't live without an accountant, so we hire an accountant through a temporary, like through a Robert Half or a different agency. And so we've tried to align our budget to actual and did some shifting around of money in the budget, and these are the two new investments.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any questions?
Okay. So, in closing, these are strong investments in finance and in the foundation of the work in the county. I want to thank the board and the county manager for the investments in classification and compensation. This helps us a lot as someone who has to recruit accountants and budget talent from lots of different jurisdictions. Our staff is the most important part of what we do. Our staff is our biggest resource, and these investments will go a long ways to making sure we can retain and recruit good staff to do all this important work. I want to thank the entire finance team. They are dedicated, they are smart, and they are super fun, and I am really lucky to be their leader. With that, I'm happy to answer any more questions.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, yeah, if I may, as we're right-sizing our budget and also the professional services, I think my question is just then why do we just continue to see the increases in both professional services and personnel costs?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, you'll see the increases in personnel costs much due to the class and compensation. It doesn't necessarily mean there's new FTEs. In this area, we are getting 4 new FTEs, so, and we appreciate that. So you'll see both here. In professional services, like I need to go back and look at what all those changes are. 200,000 of it is the 2 things I mentioned here. In addition, I'll go back and we can follow up on what exactly that is. But every 2 years, we do try and align that to actual. I never want to have a budget that's not like where I'm shifting money around. So my guess is that, but I will double check.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right,
I'm handing it over to my HR partners here.
okay.
So, we don't have a schedule.
Yeah.
You want to keep going? Okay.
Maybe take a break after this. So I'm going to ask a couple of things here, and I'm sorry to put this on you. I should have shared the request, but can you kind of like when you're moving along, just kind of help us with the pages of where you are, and maybe it's me, but maybe speak a little bit louder.
Is this loud enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can they come up? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Patience Ferguson, and I am the brand-new Chief HR Officer for Ramsey County. I've learned a great deal during my 6 weeks here in this organization, and I have a great more to learn about the departments, the people that we serve, meeting with other leaders within the organization, and getting to know my team. I would like to also take a moment to introduce and honor Kristen Schultz, who served as the interim CHRO for about 1 year. She will do a majority of the budget presentation today, but I also want to have an opportunity to thank her for her leadership and commitment to this county during a time of change and transition. Kristen has helped to stabilize the Human Resources Department. She has led multiple human resource teams during this transition through our transitions with a number of vacancies in our leadership team, and she has been a major contributor to the creation of this budget. So, Kristen, I just want to thank you for all the work that you've done, including onboarding me, so I really appreciate that. I'm going to just give a brief overview. Ramsey County is committed to being an employer of choice through strategic initiatives designed to attract, develop, and retain top talent while advancing equity and inclusion. As Minnesota's second largest and most diverse county, we recognize and understand that our workforce is our greatest asset. Central to the vision of One Ramsey County is the integration of organizational excellence into our human resources service delivery model. By working to align human resource practices with the principle of continuous improvement, it is our desire that services are delivered with consistency, clarity, and measurable impact. As a result, this strategic alignment will strengthen our ability to provide timely, responsive, and equitable resources for employees and leaders throughout the organization, and further equip my HR team to be strategic business partners. We will continue to foster a culture of respect, collaboration, and belonging. We believe by doing so, we will ensure that our workforce has the tools, resources, and support to serve the wonderful residents of Ramsey County. I will now turn over the remainder of the presentation to Kristen, and we will be available to answer questions after she does the part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Kristen. Introduce yourself and go ahead.
I'm Kristen Schultz, formerly the interim CHRO and currently the benefits manager. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. I considered developing the human resources budget for 2026-27 my most important contribution as the interim CHRO. I was new to the process and want to acknowledge the support from County Manager Becker, Deputy County Manager Joanna Berg, and CFO Alex Kutza, and thank them for supporting, mentoring, and coaching me throughout the long process. HR's major changes are outlined on page 70 and were developed to align with the county's organizational values and strategic priorities of investing in people, organizational excellence, and advancing partnerships. Human Resources has been working to transform into a strategic partner for several years. Progress has been made most recently in positioning the county to compete as an employer of choice, including the modernization of health insurance benefits, the modernization of the compensation and classification structure in alignment with core comparators, and improvements in the hiring and salary setting process. There is still much to accomplish, and new challenges will continue to present themselves. HR's leadership team is still developing. Soon, all leadership vacancies will be filled, and initiatives that had to be put on the back burner can be prioritized. HR's budget advances partnerships. As part of the budget process, HR teams were reorganized for more purposeful collaboration and oversight, building stronger partnerships within HR towards more effective delivery of services and towards strengthening the strategic partnerships across the organization. Also in 2025, the day-to-day oversight of the Public Pathways program was transitioned from Human Resources to Workforce Solutions to better leverage Workforce Solutions' expertise, partnership, and support systems in developing targeted job training programs for entry-level roles in the county and community. The change was made to pattern programs showcased at NACO, which are led by Workforce Solutions at other counties. Human Resources continues to participate on the Public Pathways leadership team and provides ongoing support as needed to ensure the success of the Public Pathways program. HR's budget also prioritizes organizational excellence. The majority of HR's major changes focus on organizational excellence by increasing core staffing capacity to not only sustain the momentum already achieved, but to accelerate results in improving how core services are delivered. Funding for 8 new positions is included in the HR budget, 4 in 2026 and 4 in 2027. Please note the funding amount on page 70 of the budget book for the requested 2027 positions should be updated to $978,250. I think it's currently 1.6 million, or yeah, 1.6 million. The new positions will support the success of core initiatives, including continued transformation of employee total benefit rewards and a transition to a self-insured model for health insurance. Also, implementation and ongoing administration of the state-mandated paid family medical leave program. In addition, maintenance of the comp and class structure, and finally, implementation of a learning and development strategy. I'll now go into more detail about each. Regarding the continued transformation of employee total rewards, in 2024, strategic changes to employee health insurance provided meaningful choice and premium differences to employees at different stages of life, but it resulted in additional administrative responsibilities for HR staff to self-administer COBRA and wellness programs previously administered by health partners. The county's long-term plan to transition to a self-insured model for health insurance will require focus by leadership who are currently supporting daily operations of the 2024 implemented changes. Strategies will need to be developed in partnership with the finance team that ensures the long-term financial health of a self-insured model in the increasingly challenging healthcare market, including incentivizing better health outcomes. Further, new benefits staff will support evaluation of providing additional benefits to employees based on input from employees. Input from employees will inform the development of a more comprehensive total reward strategy that continues to position the county to compete as an employer of choice. Regarding the Minnesota Paid Family Medical Leave Program, the majority of the new positions requested for 2026 and 2027 are to support the resources necessary for implementation and ongoing administration of the state of Minnesota mandated paid family medical leave program. Effective January 1, 2026, the new program provides job protection and partial wage replacement benefits to county employees unable to work due to a qualifying condition lasting at least 7 days. The program will apply to almost every county employee, including elected officials, from the date of hire. Employees will be eligible for up to 12 weeks of family leave, 12 weeks of medical leave, or a combined total not to exceed 20 weeks annually. The new program significantly expands support to employees compared to the benefits available under the Federal Family Medical Leave Act and will require significant administrative support. A cross-functional team of county leaders has been strategically evaluating the long-term impact of deciding whether administration of the new program will be by the state of Minnesota, much like the state administers unemployment, or whether the county will opt out of state administration for a private plan which can be administered by a third party or by the county. The deadline to opt out of the state-administered program is November 10th. In early October, HR will provide an update and recommendation for administration of the program to the board. The recommendation will strategically consider long-term financial responsibility and a positive employee experience. Multiple new positions will be required to support the ongoing implementation and administration of the developing program. Actual utilization data of the new leave program will drive the rate at which positions designated to administer the PFL program are needed. The long-term organizational-wide operational impact of the state-mandated leave program will continue to develop. In collaboration with departments, HR will be analyzing the impact of the new program on service delivery. Regarding maintenance of the comp and class structure,
I have a question, Commissioner McMurtry and then Commissioner Jefferson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a follow-up from what you described there. You said in October is when we'll be getting an update and recommendations on how you all suggest we administer the program. Will that include, I know you mentioned the need for different strategic solutions as we think of just the workforce and how to manage, the impact that it could provide on like 24/7 mandated and critical community services, how we can make sure we have the staff to do that. Will the recommendations on that component also be included in October, or is that something coming at a later date?
that will likely come in much more detail at a later date. So the October meeting will primarily focus on a recommendation of how to administer the program, whether we let the state administer it or whether we opt out for a private plan. That'll be the primary focus in October.
Gotcha. Knowing that the clock is ticking and that this starts January 1, what is the timeline for when we would get those strategic solutions, just so we are ready before it officially starts?
Well, we'll have to develop some solutions pretty quickly in, Q1, Q2 of 2026, and in collaboration with departments. What's challenging is we don't really know what the utilization will be right away. Which employees will need parental leave, family leave, bonding leave versus medical leave. So some of those solutions are going to have to be developed live in real time, which is what's going to be really challenging.
County Manager Baker.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner McMurtry, I think we're in a similar position as most employers right now because of the significant delays that the state had in rolling out this program. We were had been in several planning meetings and then just paused, and then we're waiting for additional direction. So a little bit of the scurry to the end, and certainly to decide which way we're going to go in addition to the strategic solutions has been out of our control. But certainly we'll be working really hard on this in the last quarter.
Knowing that this is something that all the counties in the state are going to have to deal with, have we been in collaboration with AMC or with other counties in the metro to see how they are planning to roll it out as well?
Yeah, absolutely, Commissioner. Both at the staff level, with Kristen's staff meeting with their peers, and also for me talking to other county administrators in the metro for sure. We've been collaborating around the strategies. So thank you.
Commissioner Zahn.
May you help me to understand about the roles that these positions will have too, because as I look at other previous budgets and the conversations around TARP, the talent acquisition work, and the class and comp, those are all items that we've been talking about for the last two budget cycles since 2022. Help me to understand why these positions are added, need to be added.
You mean all 8 of the new positions? Mm-hmm. The majority of the positions are because of new demands on the HR department. So the new demands of the changes that we made to benefits in 2024, of the state mandated program, which is coming and was not part of TARP planning or any other program that we were working on. Also the comp and class modernization. Part of the reason that has not moved along at a quicker rate is because we haven't had the resources to continue moving that on. So we've gotten to the point where we're at, and I'm going to talk about comp and class modernization next. I haven't finished covering all the different areas, but I acknowledge that some of the work, I think what you're saying is what's new. Why do we need more positions?
Right, and that these have been items that have been identified in previous budgets already too. So they have all been identified from 2022 in the budget books that I've been looking at. So that's why I'm asking about, it seems like those positions have already been funded. What are these added ones doing? And I hear you talking about the new state changes.
Yeah, well, to my knowledge, and Alex or someone from finance may have to help me out, the previous positions most recently approved in budget process, like the Foundations of Excellence positions, were actually payroll, benefits, and transactions assistants and an ADA coordinator. So to my knowledge, HR hasn't specifically asked for the funding of new positions for comp and class, or for PFML, or benefits, or a learning and development training strategy.
Oh, yeah, I'll let you complete the presentation. Yeah.
Commissioner Jefferson, and then County Manager Baker.
I just wanted to, at some point, and maybe you'll get to this too, and if so, then you can just fold it into your presentation.
Okay.
But we've talked about the administration of the Paid Family Medical Leave Act, but have we, because we're not quite sure the trends of our staff, who many of them do fill 24/7, 365 caregiving day, caregiving roles, they themselves would probably be the most obvious people stepping into their own private lives to do that role within their families as well. Do we have we budgeted to compensate for coverage, staff coverage, of anticipated staff exercising these new programs? Do we have a sense, where that's going to go?
Not really. I mean, we are thinking about the impact of the staffing challenges for 24/7 operations, primarily because if you have multiple staff in those operations on overlapping leaves, you can't just call Robert Half and have, people show up to help in the dispatch center or, to do law enforcement. So you're right. What those departments will probably have to do is pay staff that aren't on leave overtime. So that will impact overtime costs. Whether or not those have been anticipated to be budgeted in department budgets, I can't really answer.
County Manager
Yeah,
Baker.
I can do that. So there's two parts here. I want to address that and then also the foundational excellence. We did actually put money into the budget beyond what Kristen would be aware of, just beyond the actual program costs for some, we don't know the utilization and how those strategies will sort of roll out, but there is a little bit of buffer in there that the CFO and I worked on. In terms of foundational excellence, I think because this has kind of come up a couple of times, I think what would be most helpful for today is just that we have a takeaway of sort of doing a chart for all that, kind of how those FTEs kind of went from budget to budget, Alex, if that's okay, as kind of a takeaway, and that might be helpful for you, because some of it is not necessarily net new positions. They were housed centrally in the county managers, or in the strategic team budget. I'm guessing they were in the foundational excellence pool, and as people started to move on those initiatives, then we put the money. And this budget, when you actually move people permanently, it sort of shows up again, but we're actually just doing it in an official way, and it's not necessarily net new FTEs or money sometimes, but there is some new as well. So I think if we just lay it all out, it would be helpful.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, if I may, yes. I'm referencing page or document the 2022-23 approved budget, and it's on page 88. And it has the breakdown of both of human resources, and this was when it was under the county manager's office, where it has like classic comp FTEs, and it has all these. It's broken down by FTEs for each of those functions as well too. So that's why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah, we'll follow up.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, continue.
Continue? Okay. Next, I'm going to move to the maintenance of the comp and class structure. Human Resources finished implementing Phase 1 of compensation and classification modernization in 2025 by bargaining and implementing the reduction of titles in the compensation structure, as well as aligning pay to the county's core market comparable entities. Implementation resulted in an average pay increase of 2% in 2025. General wage adjustments of 3% in 2025, 3.5% in 2026, and 4.5% in 2027 were also established. The time to move between steps on the salary scales will also be reduced from 4+ to 2 years or less for all salary plans by 2026. The resulting ongoing impact of the county's investment in the workforce is the primary driver of the county's levy increase. Investing in county employees in a very competitive labor market helps retain top talent, reduce turnover, preserve institutional knowledge, and lowers the cost of disruption of recruiting and training. Ultimately, investing in employees is an investment in the future success, sustainability, and impact of the organization. Investing in employees builds trust and loyalty that can withstand change, disruption, and uncertainty, ensuring residents receive the services that they need. A stable, supported workforce is an investment in residents. Human Resources will now move into the next phase of compensation and classification modernization, which will include determining a cycle and a process for reoccurring market studies, also a cycle and a process for ongoing compensation audits for job classifications. Audits will ensure employees in similar positions with comparable skills and/or experience receive fair compensation.
Can we pause there for a moment for Commissioner McMurtry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it's just to piggyback off of what you're presenting right now. On page 71, you mentioned, in addition to the class and comp modernization as a way to help ensure we're retaining those high-quality staff, you mentioned one of the key budget priorities is administering consistent staff performance evaluations. I know that we've talked about this in the past, about some type of survey or some type of process so we can maintain ongoing feedback from staff on how we can continue to improve as an organization. Is that what you're referencing there, of some type of, I'm saying survey, but something that we can continue to get ongoing feedback from staff?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm talking specifically about review of how staff are paid. So, we need consistent review of consistent market analysis. So we just came out of doing a market analysis and adjustment. We need to determine how often we'll do that again. When will we next do a market study? What we didn't do this last go around was review and update every job description, and also with the changes made at the state in how we pay employees. So the pay history law has impacted how we set salary as employees come in. We're going to need to do an evaluation of how that has impacted pay equity across the organization.
Gotcha.
Oh, I didn't see you.
Madam Chair and Commissioner, and Crystal will get a little bit more into that when we start talking about learning and development. So that's when we look at the kinds of evaluations we need to do, setting up a performance management system, those kinds of things. Quite frankly, because of the changes in leadership within Human Resources, we have to get the leaders in, and we're actually in the process of offering job offers. So by the time we get to that place, we should be able to do that. So that's part of the challenge, is just getting the leaders in place so that we can move ahead on some of the initiatives that have not been implemented so far.
Gotcha. That's helpful, and I appreciate that, because I do think having some type of an annual or just ongoing opportunity for us to hear directly from staff, so that in real time we are addressing any concerns, we're understanding where we're doing well and where we need to be doing better.
Absolutely.
So stay right there for a moment, just in case, because that is really important as we talk about being really competitive in the marketplace with salaries, right? And making sure that, we don't have such huge overturns because people are leaving because of our competitors in other counties or whatnot, and that's important. But I'm also thinking about, as we begin to hire more staff, especially within HR, which has been a little tricky at times within HR, to work to ensure that we have processes and protocols in places so that when we think about hiring people, it's not taking so long to hire them. Because by the time we hire them, they have gone and left on to somewhere else because it's taken so long. So are we, as we think about hiring new people, are we also thinking about the processes that we are using or not using to get them hired?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, absolutely. I've already started having conversations to really, we need to take a step back and look at our existing processes, either from, it's not so much, it may be a compliance, but it's also best practices in human resources. So one of the things that I've been doing within the last week or so is, number one, looking at data. Number two, engaging people or organizations that I've worked with in the past so that we can take the key functions within HR and do an assessment and see where we're weak, where we're strong, and then build a roadmap from that. And you're absolutely correct. As a matter of fact, this morning, Kristen and I were talking about that because we have to make sure that we have the right processes in place, the practices in place, where the barriers are, and then come up with a roadmap. So I am in total agreement with that.
Okay, awesome, great, thank you. Commissioner Jefferson.
Oh, yeah, and then following up on that too, not only the idea of that Commissioner McMurtry had talked about of making sure we're getting constant feedback as an organization, how we're serving our employees, but also a sense of, are we providing staff and managers and departments the right tools to make sure that we're holding our staff accountable, that they're providing them the necessary training, the necessary coaching, so that they are performing at a level that our residents deserve for the roles that we've put them in. Is that part of it too, the improvements you're looking at?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, absolutely. And Kristen will talk a little bit about that in the learning and development section. All of that really, it's a system. So you can pay people, but if you don't have any data that shows why people are staying or leaving, if you don't have good processes and systems in place to ensure that number one, are we hiring the right people? Do we have the support that they need from a training and learning development perspective? And that's when I talked a little bit about the continuous improvement piece. It all works together in a system, and that's what our goal is. And I'm excited that I think we're here. It's a perfect storm, not negatively. It's a positive storm, because when you do all this, it's my belief, if you're doing all this at the right time, we can begin to see where we need to go and how we need to get there. So I look forward to the day when we can give you some data to show you where we are in our journey.
Look forward to that, thank you.
I'll just stand here.
Okay.
Just in case.
Are you ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. So I've already covered the position, or basically the initiatives that HR is requesting additional positions for, being the expansion of employee total rewards, the Minnesota Paid Family Medical Leave Program, and comp and class maintenance going forward. Finally, new positions are also requested to support the implementation of a learning and development strategy for all staff that incorporates consistent performance management and develops leaders and staff who consistently promote county values and develop professionally in support of One Ramsey County and the county's long-term goals for growth and adaptability. So I was almost there. There are some technical and miscellaneous major changes in the HR budget, including transferring ongoing funding for 3 filled human resources positions from Foundational Excellence. We've already talked about that a little bit. We're technically removing positions unfunded in previous budgets and never filled. That's the 5.7 that you see in our major changes. And also transferring miscellaneous strategic priority funding for the biannual Spirit of Service event, which is next due in 2026, employee resource groups, and recruitment activities. In closing, we'd like to thank the board for supporting human resources and answer any other questions.
Any questions? Okay, Commissioner Jefferson and then Commissioner Zone.
Yeah, I have 2 kind of bigger questions. One of them is, maybe it's somewhere in here and you can just direct me to it. We've talked about how the class and comp and wage adjustments have impacted, us enterprise-wide. And we have it listed in notes within each budget area, but is there a comprehensive place that says this is how much that the investment enterprise-wide, so all of Ramsey County, this is where that is?
I'm going to CFO respond.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, yes, we have a spreadsheet that lays that all out. We'd be happy to follow up with that.
That would be great. And then the second question I have is, I guess, where are we putting in here any or maybe there is already some kind of buffer against concerns about increasing healthcare and insurance costs? I guess, where are we in our locking in our insurance rate when we'll have to negotiate them again? Is that within this biennium or is that for another budget cycle?
Well, you mean the planning for that? So where we're at in our contracts right now, the contracts were all finalized in 2024. They're 3 to 5 year contracts. They will all likely be 5-year contracts. Many of the contracts included 5-year rates, so we wouldn't want to end them before 3 years. But the contracts that come with the most significant cost are the health insurance contract, the contract we have with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We're in our final year for 2026 of a rate cap. So so every year we get new rates based on the utilization of our staff that are using the insurance. So we just got our new rate for 2026, and of course, we had a rate cap of 8.9, and costs are going up 8.9%. But the projected increase without the rate cap was in the double digits. So you're exactly right. With the increasing cost of health insurance and the utilization of our plans, we are expecting that the renewal in 2027 will be potentially significantly more than 8.9%.
We also got an additional response.
Yeah.
Sorry. Madam Chair, Commissioner, thank you for the question. I just want to add that from a county perspective, we spend quite a bit of time trying to estimate and think about how much we're going to be spending on this, and we allow for that in other areas, not necessarily in the HR budget, but we have areas where we keep funding going forward to anticipate increases that if it wasn't a bargaining year, I'd be estimating what a bargaining increase might be. On the healthcare side, we also do that. We look at, Bureau of Labor statistics, we look at CPI, we try and make an educated guess. I also would like to add that in a 3-year contract like that, some of that's on us too. We don't necessarily want to say we're going to lock in for a rate for 5 years, just like they don't, because we don't know where the market's going to go. So if I lock into a rate of 9% and the market goes at 4, I'm going to pay 9, and we don't want that either. So that's pretty typical in the healthcare, but the finance team and the HR team partner with the labor relations in particular to try and make sure those estimates are included in the budget. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to Commissioner Zong, then Commissioner McMurtry.
I just wanted to thank you, Christian, for presenting, but also for your time in holding down HR too. So I just want to first also acknowledge that, and then also to say that as a county board and as leaders, we've been having higher level conversations about HR as well, and we've had so many different workshops on it. That's why I just wanted to center us to our investments of where we have been already too. And, maybe like the conversation then is more about like, going down into the culture of our workplace or the culture in itself, rather than, trying to add on just more FTE. So that's where I've been thinking and just resting at. So more of a conversation between leadership, but also acknowledging that you have been holding it down too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner McMurtry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to address under the budget initiatives section on page 72. I know that there's been a lot of conversation thinking about, as some of our older employees retire, starting to think about how we're recruiting and bringing in newer folks to these positions. And I think that the class and comp modernization piece is crucial to that, but also looking at our benefits and some things that are more appealing, especially as we're thinking of younger employees coming in. I see some things listed here like student loan forgiveness. Wanted to get 2 questions. One, what is kind of the status of timing of looking at maybe rolling out some of these additional benefits? And two, and this could just be my own new personal bias, have we considered childcare assistance a part of this list of total package of rewards?
I'll answer that one first. No, not yet.
But one of the things Kristen talked earlier about was this whole piece around evaluation, and that's what we want to do. We want to hear, we have a diversified workforce. We have people that are leaving and retiring, and we have newer employees. And what our goal is to get information to find out what's important to the employees. Also, we have great relationships with our county partners and different municipalities and see what's going on out there in the landscape. So we want to hear what the employees are saying and then see, number one, is the feasibility of that, and also see what the trends are, and then can come back and have some sort of roadmap to that.
Gotcha. So, and I get that piece on the childcare front. For those that you have listed here, is there a timeline for either receiving evaluations and feedback from employees, or is there a plan to roll out any of those that you have listed in the document?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. So we will be asking employees what's important to them during the next year. And so we'll be getting feedback from employees from, what it is, how satisfied are they with our current offerings, and where would they like to see additional offerings. So that will be in 2026. And that will inform where we go next for 2027 and or 2028. I just want to remind you all that we'll be getting a new ERP system. Got it in there for you, Alex. And all of the benefits that employees have are administered in our system. So it's actually pretty technically difficult to administer a new benefit in our existing system. So it makes some sense to wait to implement new benefits after 1/1/27 when we actually have our system. Because there's a lot of work going on right now to basically accommodate what we already have. And it's hard to do that work for benefits that we don't have yet. So even thinking about whether we're going to offer additional voluntary benefits means the employees pay all of the cost. But what the county does is administer that on their behalf, so they procure it. That's a process that we have to follow. So the HR department, when they're considering what other benefits we're going to offer, we have to solicit those. We have to follow the county's rules for procurement, get a contract in place, and then we actually have to implement it and administer it on behalf of the employee so that it comes out of their paycheck and those vendors get paid. So it's a significant amount of work, actually, to add additional benefits to the entire program. And so we're really trying to think strategically about how that lines up with our new ERP system coming.
So I'm going to just kind of check in on that piece there, because our staff and our employees are dependent on you, right, to have a process in place that is not so cumbersome, that does not take so long, and that those benefits are there. But I also would like to just share, as we think about, I want to just echo Commissioner Zone, first to say thank you for just stepping in a time where we were searching, right? Appreciate that work. But it's really important that we have a process and procedure in place, even for something like when staff leave, right? That we're checking in with those staff before they leave, so that they're not just a beholder of all that information and they leave without sharing what was you working on, where were we in the process, so that we can continue on, right, without having such huge delays. Because we can add more staff, but if there's not a process and procedures in place, it still becomes difficult.
Total agreement.
Yep. So, Kristen, you have anything else to?
I don't have anything else.
Any other questions? Yes, so we're going to take a break, a 15-minute break, and we're going to come back with our County Manager Office and Chief of Staff, Maria Sarabia, next. 15 minutes break. our our Chief of Staff, Maria Sarabia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Maria Sarabia. I serve as the Chief of Staff to County Manager Becker. I have the honor and responsibility to present the County Manager's Office portion of the proposed 2026-27 biennial budget. I will lead with, this has been a collaborative process and a learning process. What I'll present today is a bit of a reset for a new trajectory for the CMO, one that embodies our commitments to prioritizing county responsible services, operating as one Ramsey County, advancing our partnerships, investing in organizational excellence, and supporting long-term fiscal health. It is important to remember the strength and productivity of the CMO. It does benefit the whole organization. And so with that, I would also be remiss if I didn't thank the county manager, thank the chief financial officer, thank our budget director, as well as folks who have helped from within the finance department, including Holly, Pratt, Bianca, and others. And I'd also take a moment to thank the folks who reside and work and serve along us within the county manager's office, the chief compliance ethics officer and her team, Deanna Pesic, the chief of clerk and his team, Jason Yang, our government relations director, Jenna Rourke, and her team, as well as our mighty and beloved policy shop, who has been led in interim leadership for almost over a year by Lydia Girma, but also acknowledging Larry Timmerman's leadership, who's helped us get through to this moment. So the way in which we are able to achieve our work is only possible because of investments that have been made previously and because of your leadership as the board, and that's supported us to get to the moment we're in now. So thank you. In today's presentation, and after hearing from other departments across the strategic team, it's clear that investments from foundational excellence is helping us move to organizational excellence. And we are achieving more order and seeing the positive impacts, such as more cohesion and the mindset of one Ramsey County from across the organization and to better serve our residents. This indeed is a budget of responsible choices made to date under this administration with clarity and intentionality from our county manager, this exec team, and I'm a proud member of it. As we move forward, I want us to remember the comments that were provided by Deputy County Manager Joanna Berg in terms of organizational alignment. It is important to remember that we're in the midst of organizational alignment in real time, in process within the CMO. As such, some of the technical nuances and certain details may not tie out with exact precision in the materials provided across all of the business areas within the CMO. Nonetheless, we will answer questions and we will work diligently to address any questions or address comments that show up today, as well as from our constituents and residents. Also, I'm excited to share more about the vision and the recalibration that is underway for the CMO, the County Manager's Office. We continue to be a resource to the rest of the county across all departments and within service teams. So as I move forward, I'll provide a brief overview of some of the business areas and then interweave a lot of the major changes that are presented here. You can find an overview of the County Manager's Office on page 44 of the printed proposal 26-27 biennial budget, and this is where the CMO begins. There's an org chart of the current state on page 45, and page 46 has a listing of major changes. So I'm pleased to share more. I will review the responsible decisions and the strategic organizational alignments that create a pathway for success. When we think about the definition of success, it includes succession and integration, in my opinion. Historically, within the CMO, the county manager has had direct leadership over many business areas. Going forward, we are building capacity, and I, as the Chief of Staff, will serve in this new role, which was established just a few years ago with this board's blessing, to increase capacity and to help with the organization and sustaining ourselves with strong leadership to direct, support, manage, and oversee, as well as integrate our practices and strengthen our administration and governance processes. On page 48 of the budget book, you'll see listing of business areas within the CMO. We have the chief clerk and administration area that reports to the county manager's office now. And again, citing back to our organizational alignment changes, will report to the chief operating officer. However, in practice and in real time, we acknowledge there will be some dotted lines remaining to the CMO to be in close alignment and support the chief clerk and his team to provide governance support. We know that that is an important function for this board, and that functional team will also remain physically within the county manager's office. We are in a season of working within matrix team structures and applying adaptive methods. Again, prioritizing our responsible services. This is key for this business area in terms of supporting the board. Operating as one Ramsey County, this team, the chief clerk and administration area serves as the connection across the entire county. And when we have our house in order and are administering and governing properly and well organized, we make good partners. We also invest in organizational excellence. This team is strong and has been steadfast, and it benefits us all. And when we are doing efficient work, it helps us improve our fiscal health. Now I'll transition to the compliance and ethics area, which also reports to the county manager's office and will continue to report to the county managers within this new change. As we know, this functional area is key to the success of this organization, such as adopting streamlined and methodical approaches to compliance, and one that is grounded in ethics and transparency. Partnerships are critical for the success of the compliance and ethics area as well. Partnerships with what we'll soon be calling the Policy Administrative Strategy Team, which I'll share more about, as well as our Human Resources Department, our County Attorney's Office, and the CFO, and other areas across the organization. We continue to invest in this business area, and I have some examples. Just in practice, we've established the Federal Response Action Team, being led by the Chief Compliance and Ethics area, and that's responding to Fed and state responses and pressures, and we knowing that we need to be swift and safeguard our bodies of work, understand our budget nuances, shore up and protect our lines of business. So that is an area where we've established more foundations there, and going forward, we'll have an increase of 1 FTE to be in compliance with the Minnesota Government and Data Practices Act. There's also 6 positions in the CMO that have been funded through foundational excellence proposals that were approved previously. This budget operationalized those investments, and those 6 FTEs will be funded within the CMO to live within the Chief Compliance and Ethics area, and that's reflected in the 26-27 budget. This is a body of work that's being transferred and embedded within the CMO. Also, there's an increase of funding that supports the work across the county and within the compliance office by investing in software technology specific to investigations and around shoring up our training and our policy work and our systems that we've invested, which we call Power DMS. So again, this is an area in which we're investing organizational excellence. We're strengthening the organization. We're prioritizing county responsible services by protecting ourselves and mitigating risk and operating as one Ramsey County. This is a time for integration. The following 3 business areas that I'll go over actually do remain in oversight of the Chief of Staff, and this is where we're going to do a little sort of back and forth. If we do go to page 13 of the organizational chart that's presented in organizational alignment, you'll see these areas outlined for what will be in place effective 2026. So we've talked about our beloved policy and planning team. You'll see a new name for this business area as the Policy and Administrative Strategy Division. We continue to invest in this area to reestablish it. It reports to the Chief of Staff. The name change can be seen on page 12 of the organizational alignment overview portion of the budget book. But the emphasis and the underpinnings here is to, again, operate as one Ramsey County, advance partnerships, and invest in organizational excellence. The definition of administration from an etymological perspective, meaning the origin and original meaning of this word, the term administration, it originates from a Latin verb, administrare, meaning to serve, assist, and manage. How do we do this? By leading level by leading high-level strategic support across our county leadership, in-depth research and support to county operations. The team coordinates, convenes, leads multi-sector and multi-department projects that help the organization align practice within the county's vision, mission, and goals. The Policy Administrative Strategy Division provides support countywide in the areas of strategic alignment, as explained on page 12 of the organizational alignment portion of the book. We're adding racial and health equity administrative positions to augment existing roles, and this creates parity across the organization, across all of the service teams. Also, an increase of 1 FTE is a position that we're investing in for the American Indian Coordinator, also to live in this business area. This helps us advance our partnerships with the community and within the county to close disparities in the American Indian community. It helps us keep our commitments and stay true to our mission, vision, and values where all Ramsey County residents can thrive. We also have an increase of countywide evaluation efforts, and this investment ties back to, again, our organizational alignment on page 12. The Health and Wellness Administration has some adjustments made where we have the Division of Innovation and Strategy is being realigned for countywide support and structures, making the following changes around research and the evaluation team. This is going to be a transfer and a realignment from that area to the Policy Administrative Division in the County Manager's Office. This is the first step for us making it a county-wide sustainable function. Also, we've had some efforts in the Health and Wellness Service team where there's been certain work that's going to be operationalized around healthy living, access to healthy foods, nutrition and well-being, and a planning staff, a planning specialist, will be transferred from the health and wellness area into the public health department specifically to continue that work. As such, we'll have a planning manager come out of that area and be placed within the policy and administrative strategy. That planning manager holds the responsibility and will be developing work plans and strategies to bolster our partnerships. When we say partnerships, we're talking about community-based organizations, philanthropy, and other government entities to complement work that's happening in our government and community relations area, which I'll speak to in a bit. So these structures and expectations for integrated teams, mind you, it's built with incredible talent, technical knowledge, deep understanding of data, research, and the opportunity to apply mixed methods of analysis using qualitative, lived experiences, as well as systems data to execute on the county's strategic priorities. To connect with organizational performance management efforts and coordinate, convene, and lead multi-sector, multi-department projects. This helps our organization align with our administrative practices and our governance, planning efforts, and it continuously improves our approach to, again, meet our mission, vision, and values. In terms of our government and community relations area, again, reflected in our organizational alignment, this is an enhancement. And the government and community relations team is responsible for dynamic work. I can't emphasize this enough in this political and economic context. It's become very and most visible in high pressures, and there's a delicate and nuanced art to balancing this work across our government relations with Fed, state, and local governments. We're fostering constructive partnerships and platforms to further position and establish ourselves under the direction of the board, and this team is also our county's main conduit to national organizations such as National Association for Counties and Association of Minnesota Counties. This is a newly expanded effort, and the community relations part of this will help us foster cross-functional efforts and convene with stakeholders to ensure we're showing up with partners either as a convener or as a leader, but to be in this space together and collaboratively. As the landscape continues to shift and sometimes even quake in these pressing times, this area is increasing in strategy and refining practices to be more focused and responsive to the pressing needs of the county and our residents. Again, this is underpinning of operating as one Ramsey County, advancing our partnerships, and investing in our organizational excellence. The other area that you'll see on the organizational alignment org chart is communications and public relations. It's on page 13 where you can preview that area being kind of tucked right there under the chief of staff. And that's another area which they will present in another day, but I want to just highlight and acknowledge that that is another change to our organizational alignment, where we have bodies of work including strategic communications, internal communications, media relations, crisis communications, brand and identity management. We have creative services and managing communication channels. All of this work helps us also to sustain ourselves in partnership. That another important area that lives within the communications area is our open data portal. So that area being structurally and connected to the policy shop and our government relations area is really a powerful space. And then also just acknowledging that the vision for me is I'd love to have like division meetings where we bring all these department heads together and have strategies and we work across the organization. With that, I'll also just highlight a few more major changes that I haven't touched on yet, but there is a transfer of 9 FTEs from the county manager's office to the public health department, and that's essentially a reassignment to the Office of Safety and Justice for transforming systems together and violence prevention work. This move already happened in 2025, but we're catching up with ourselves in this presentation and during this process. And I would be remiss if I just didn't also acknowledge that the personnel costs and the budget for 26 and 27, there's an increase, and it's because of our settled contracts, including our comp and class work and plans as well, that essentially general wage adjustments across the board. And so we also acknowledge that that is a standing factor that impacts our entire area. With that, I will pause there to see if there's let me just go a little bit deeper with the revenue changes. There's a listing of revenue changes within the county manager's office on page 46. And I would just reiterate that this is a kind of a redistribution. As we've moved things around, we've moved not only FTEs and functional roles, but the dollar amounts and some of the revenues that are generated there. So that will now be accounted for within the county manager's office. And that's around work in terms of work that was happening in the compliance area, just other services and charges that we have, as well as some of the software and technology that we've invested. And so with that, I wanted to end on a high note and explain that these are some of the moving parts, share a little bit of the vision, and just can't thank this board enough and our leadership across the organization for being adaptive, being responsive to these different changes. In true form, we're building the plane as we're flying it in the CMO and just really trying to be agile and adaptive to the needs of our community. And I'll pause there and stand for questions.
Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Maria. I just have one question regarding the increase for F2 FTEs for the countywide evaluation efforts. Can you speak to more on what that evaluation efforts would look like and what are their roles? So will it be to evaluate program operations, grants, and then how we can make changes or scale back if needed to?
Sure, and I believe you're speaking about the transfer of the team from the DIS Health and Wellness area into the now county manager's office?
On bullet point 5, it says an increase of $307,446 in 2 FTEs in 2027 for countywide evaluation efforts. I'm just curious if that's like a new department area or 2 new, or do we already have evaluators within programs and now it's just having it be more centralized so it can be organization-wide rather than each area so siloed?
Thank you. Yes, that's on page 46, and you're correct. It's a little bit of both, and we're moving existing resources and team into the CMO, but then also augmenting that with the additional 2 FTEs to ensure that we have parity and capacity across the organization. Historically, those functions have lived within the health and wellness service team and have been lent out to other areas, but now we're going to try to be a little bit more structurally balanced and focused with those efforts across the enterprise.
Any questions? Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
Chief of Staff Sarabia. I want to make sure I get the right title here, yes. Thank you so much. Could I just get a little more clarity on, I'm looking at the charts on both page 13 and on page 45, and I'm wondering where is communications and public relations? I think that government and community relations and policy and administrative strategy are on page 45. I don't see where communications and public relations is, and so I just didn't know if we're going to hear that in another area.
Thank you,
We're
Madam
gonna
Chair.
hear about them.
Commissioner McGuire, you are correct. Page 149 is where the Community and Public Relations Department has all of their information, including their FTEs and functional roles and duties. You will hear from that director directly, and these changes would tie out in 2026. It's a little bit of a preview about where they will land and sort of the case as to why and how that's going to benefit the county. But if you look at page 149, that's where the department information begins for communications and public relations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the org chart, the 26 and 27 org charts, who does communications and public relations report to?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, currently that department reports to IPR, Deputy County Manager Karen Francois, which we look at the organization, I have the fun area where you get to flip from the front to the back of the book, is listed as organizational alignment in that memo explaining that that business area is now being redistributed.
So to you, okay, so on page 3, I just want to know if I should be looking at the 26, 27 org chart on page 13 shows communications and public relations reporting to you.
That's correct.
So that is going to happen.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, that is correct.
So that's correct. Okay, so that's, and then, but on page 45, I've got the county manager office, chief clerk and administration, compliance and ethics, government, that's all reporting to the county, that's 26. It's all reporting to the county manager. Is it not going to be reporting through you to the county manager? I'm just wondering where the chief of staff position is on page 45.
Madam Chair, Commissioner McGuire, you are tracking completely.
Okay,
and
good.
this does not reflect what is to come in 26, 27. That will tie out in the final budget book as we're previewing now, because it would be a missed opportunity to not kind of show the roadmap of where we're going in the context of organizational alignment.
So I should think about 13, not 45. I mean,
that's correct in terms of Madam Chair, Commissioner McGuire, that is correct in terms of the functional layout, and updates are needed for the organizational chart for 26, 27 once we get to that moment of actually effectuating that change.
All right, I'll just keep asking those kinds of questions. I'm just curious what the flow of accountability and who's reporting to who in those areas.
County Manager Baker.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner McGuire, thanks, Maria, for a good explanation. You know, in front of you, you have also an org chart that is right there. It's a separate sheet of paper. That's who's going to be presenting under which service team. And that is the functional budget. I think it's the one in front of you right there. So as you can see, tomorrow, communications and public relations will be presenting as part of the IPR service team. We prepared the budgets while, as Maria was describing, literally trying to build a new ship while we're flying it. So we needed some structure to be able to organize the budget, let the finance team be able to make a budget book while we are building toward a January 1st new organizational structure. So you are correct. On January 1 of 2026, the page 13, that org chart will be a reality for the organization. Not all departments, and it's probably most impactful in a couple of areas primarily, like Maria is here, that it's not, the organizational alignment movements are not reflected in the budget org charts because those were kind of set aside as part of the organizational alignment work and covered in that memo, if that makes sense. So hopefully that makes.
Thank you. Yeah, just so I know. So I should just keep looking at for the future.
Yes, page 13.
14,
14,
for page
yes.
13, 14.
Yep.
Not page 45 is not the future.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay, thank you. That's just what I wanted to be clear. So I just know where to ask my questions. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Yes, I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the investment in the compliance and risk assessment areas. I'm just wondering if you can give us a little bit more context of the costs of not investing here and what some of the benefits that organizationally we're hoping to get from these positions.
Thank you for that. Madam Chair, Commissioner, I would say that we've been on a journey with our compliance and ethics area. There was a time where we didn't have such a function established. And so this board has approved the standing up with the foundational excellence sort of being the seed money to establish that. And some of the things I think that would matter most is around policy violations and certain conduct that does not represent the values and the mission and the vision of this organization, that does not align with the county board and the standards and expectations that we have as a public institution. As such, when we have strong investments in this area, we're able to administer and roll out countywide respectful workplace trainings. There's a recent activity that occurred and have very high rates of completion. Prior to that, we didn't have a mechanism to capture that data, to roll that out, and to set the standard. I would also say there's efforts in terms of just mitigating risk and having predictable, repeatable, and consistent messaging and standards around expectations and responsibilities of serving here at Ramsey County and representing Ramsey County. So when such behaviors show up within our organization or within the community, we have a proper mechanism and method, and we work in partnership with our county attorney's office to ensure that those matters are addressed swiftly and consistently, and that we set a standard for what is the expectation and of our organization. That's a couple of examples offhand. I mean, some of these things lead into investigations, and there's consequences for investigations, and it just sets the norm for our employees and our leadership to know that there's consequences for decisions that are made, and sometimes those consequences could lead up to termination. And that's in alignment with our job descriptions and our personnel rules. And this is a collective effort, but this is the point area that really helps lead and manage that, that hard work.
Yeah, I'd like to expand a little bit on the specific investments. The FTEs really are responding to the high volume of data requests, assessing data to provide resident services, providing data practices training to county employees, and safeguarding responsive data to protect data privacy. So any failure to meet these obligations actually increases our exposure to potential regulatory violations. Could be monetary fines, litigation, which is settlement agreements, and then reputational damage as well. So both the IT fund, the tool, and also the FTE allows us to be able to better respond. And this is a county responsible thing that we have to do because we are subject to the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and I just wanted to ask as well, so a handful of us sit on the audit committee, and one of the pieces that was brought up there when we were discussing this work is also just making sure that we are following best practices and expecting all of our partners and vendors and everybody else as well. So can you maybe speak to both the financial piece of that and then the human interaction piece of that to make sure that we are providing good governance, good service, good oversight of the work that we're doing here at the county, and how these roles, if I'm reading this right, may also be supporting some of that work too? Or is that not quite what these roles will be doing?
I'm not tracking your question exactly. Can you repeat it again?
Sure. Some of the risk assessments that we've had within our audit committee along the data practices and some of the other things are made, and to the officer's Sarabia's comments about making sure that we are holding ourselves accountable to best practices, is making sure that the way that we're delivering our services does not provide exposure to either us causing any undue harm not doing the best that we're supposed to, or living up to our obligations, but then also any financial risks that may come from that should we be, fall short of those expectations. You gave the example of data practices, but is it beyond that, or is it the data request really the focus of these positions?
So I think it's a both and. I was specifically speaking to the major change of the new investment. I think more broadly, the things that you're talking about are covered under the work of the Compliance and Ethics Office and its overall functions.
Okay, so that's ongoing work.
Exactly.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
really
what I was
important.
addressing was the specific additional FTE and the money being put into around data practices.
Thank you for that clarification.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, I could also offer that we can pull together more of a summary of some of the core functional roles and duties that take place in that area for this board. And I know that there are certain standards and expectations, and we are one of the counties that, along with a few other jurisdictions and government organizations that do comply or do meet those higher standards and go to and complete certain trainings in regards to what you're speaking to. But we can get more detailed nuance.
I would appreciate that. I think this is one of those back of the house kinds of functions that is not commonly understood by a lot of folks, and we're still clarifying here within our own body to make sure that we can articulate this investment and why it's important.
Commissioner Zong.
Going off on the data practices piece, how much of that has increased, or that volume that requires us to have a new FTE?
Madam Chair,
I'd have to get back to you.
Commissioner, we'd have to pull that.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I have it, but we might have to, that's something we can follow back up with.
Okay, thank you.
So as they digging into that, Ms. Sarabia, you want to move forward, or?
Yes, for me, that is a summary, and that concludes my presentation today. If there's more questions, I'm able to answer.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Zong.
I had a question about one of the programs. I lost my place now. That was just identified for using like the system, the column case management. Is that being added as a new cost, or is that something just identified that's we're using and we need to increase investments in?
Can you, Madam Chair, Commissioner?
It's used by the workplace investigations team.
Yes, that is a system that was invested in, and now we're sustaining our investment. And I'd have to find, can you tell me, Madam Chair, Commissioner, which page you're on?
49.
On page 49.
Thank you. Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioner, the name of the system is Workplace. Software is called, the software ensures accurate reporting and provides increased efficiency. I know there's a name, but the name is escaping me, but I can find more detailed information about the software as well.
Oh, yeah, I would just like to know how much it is.
Sure.
Yeah. And then my other question was just around the American Indian Coordinator position being housed in the county manager's office. May you share more about why it would be housed in that versus the community, like the other community partnerships and/or an EGCI? Because that's my understanding of the position too, that it really focuses a lot on the workforce development and supporting whole families.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, we have made the decision that the complement of the policy and administrative strategy area has been intentional in embodying and folding in the racial and health equity administrators, and that work also includes working with American Indians, but we have a specific carve out for this role, and that's so that they can have a cross-pollination with other efforts that are happening across different service teams. And my understanding is that these roles will be centered within the CMO and the policy shop. However, there would be assignments across and maybe attend certain division level or department level meetings to focus on project specific. We're working in a more of a matrix effort, but needing to have that information rolled up, tracked, and supported at the county manager office level. And so that's the intent on positioning that role within the policy shop to complement the racial and health equity administrator roles, who would then support across the service teams and And definitely, if there's much work needed in the workforce area, then that would be a key assignment and key space in which they would navigate and work, and we would be supportive of that within the county manager's office.
Okay. I just want to add that this would be a position that I'd be supportive of, since we know that American Indian children actually show up disproportionately in our systems of child protection and our youth justice system and work, that having just this one position that can actually work within community, it just changes, and we're moving upstream to close those disparities.
Thank you.
I think we have a response from County Manager Becker.
Yeah, before we go too far, Commissioner Zhang, I have your answer here. The Column investigation tool was a $27,800 investment in '26, and it's a $30,580 investment in 2027. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Commissioner Jefferson.
I just wanted to follow up on this conversation that Commissioner Zhang was having about the American Indian position. And now, if I'm tracking right on page 12, at the very top, so the RIAs, or the Racial and Health Equity Administrator positions, are they all being collectively reorged into the county manager's office? And then that specific American Indian position would be as part of that collaborative team? So it's not just that one position's being moved, right?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, that is correct.
Okay, so then the hope is that that those positions would have a system-wide effect rather than being concentrated in just one of our services.
That's correct. Madam Chair, Commissioner, the way in which I presented it was, we have a lot of technical data knowledge, we have a lot of lived experience, qualitative knowledge, and we have mixed practices in terms of the methodology we use to engage with communities and people who experience our county system and who depend on our services. So this is truly, and where we actually have recently made an internal announcement about the new director of the Policy and Administrative Strategy Division, and it's a complement of skills that just have the qualitative social sciences background, but then also that deep technical data background, and that's where we're wanting to have these sort of blended practices to ensure that we are having a county-wide impact on these different bodies of work across the departments and within service teams.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. So can I just say that I think I like this concept of spreading, so it's a part of the practice of who we are and how we move this work forward. I like that concept. I like the intentionality of it, but also the value that I think it states of who we are as Ramsey County with engaging diverse communities and processes. So I say that to say this also, though, as we're thinking about compliance and doing better, right, in creating processes and protocols, as we think about integrating this across service teams and how we do our work, one of the things that I've heard a few times from the engagement with community, and this could be little things, but sometimes the little things are the things that matters the most. For example, with TST, and it's good to see that's going into the service teams, coming out of the county manager office, also coming out of the, and to be delivered across service teams, is that when we engage community members in processes, and when we dismantle it and we're not using them anymore, there has been like, can you send like a letter out to community members explaining the process to them and thanking them for their service, right? Because it's a kind of like a disconnect. It's like we were so engaged and all of a sudden it was like nothing. So as we move forward and think about what that can look like in like a service delivery type of way, that we can remember to do things, little things like that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to ask my questions at the right time. So are we getting just an overview now? Because I would love to ask a few more questions about the racial and health equity positions. I'm totally supportive of an American Indian one. I was just curious what the others were. I think we have an African American. I'm trying to remember what the other ones are. But if I want to ask that at another time, because I think are we going to go deeper into these? Because my other question is on the community relations person, which I really support, and I would just like to hear more about that. But if there's another time when we're going to go into greater detail on those parts of the budget, I can ask it then.
Okay,
Madam-
County Manager.
Yeah, can I just first
Yeah.
level set around the race health equity administrators? I think there was a little bit of conversation that made it seem like we're now bringing them back to the county manager's office. The majority of them were actually working out of policy and planning, the previous office originally. There was just one other person who was out over in health and wellness that we've now, so that's not necessarily a net new activity. We've determined that it's really important to have that enterprise-wide sort of strategic thinking connection to the county manager's office. The real goal around what we were doing around the racial health equity administrators was to ensure there was equity and parity across the organization, so it wasn't the haves versus the have-nots, but all departments would have access to that supportive infrastructure. And then on top of it, I see the Native American coordinator as sort of an overlayer that just supports the whole county around building both those connections, both internal and external. And I think that is a role that we should be really proud of. It was actually designed by community, co-design. They were on the hiring panel. They've been part of the work ongoing. The Native American coordinator right now actually has a supportive work team that's both internal and external that gives her sort of support. And so I think it's a model that's worked really well. So kind of see it as multiple layers. We want to make sure all service teams, and I think sometimes we get good ideas out of some areas, whether it's evaluation or our race equity work, and we haven't been able to resource it in the same way because there's some areas that have an ability to do it more than others. And we're saying some things are so important when it comes to our work around closing disparities and evaluation of programs, both actually help us, particularly at this moment in time, I think, with all the challenges that we have before us, to be able to have a kind of a tether to the county manager's office specifically. As Maria alluded to, and I think I can speak personally about it now, it's too much for me personally to manage so many people. Having a buffer of the chief of staff being able to do all that while still keeping it central is a really good thing for our organization. So hopefully that helps a little bit. You can go ahead and ask your other questions. I want to just level set. It wasn't like the racial health equity administrators, this is a new thing for them to be centralized. The majority of them have been working very much together. And I will just say, as you guys have had a lot of good questions around the structures, just keep remembering what Deputy County Manager Berg said. We have to have structures because everyone needs a reporting structure. We have to have an org chart. But the expectation is that we definitely are working much more cross-functionally around teams, and you're going to see that more and more. And so less around, we're going to come to you as a service team, we're coming as departments. You're going to hear more, I've been turning back sort of workshops, presentations, and people are saying, this is sponsored by a department. I'm like, oh, you had 4 other people, areas help you. Come as a group, right? Like everyone needs to be in the room. And so we're really, it's a little bit of a culture shift for our organization, but hopefully this 2026 will really be our momentum builder to get there. Thank you.
And thank you, County Manager. I appreciate all of that. That is great level setting for me. And so if now is the time, can I ask,
Yes.
I appreciate our racial and health equity administrators are basically with the county manager's office, which is great. So who are they all? I mean, do we have now have an American Indian one proposed? We have an African American, we have a Hmong American. I mean, I'm just curious. No, we don't usually. Do we have them specified to community, or they're all working throughout all communities? I just was curious.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, currently they've been assigned to service teams.
Okay.
Based on bodies of work and functional areas. There's been a little bit of an imbalance in terms of the number that we have across and our charge to reduce the health and wellness service team size. We're now spreading that out and aligning that resource and that team and those methods to integrate with the policy specialists, with the other sort of administrative functions within the policy and administrative strategy team, and that research and evaluation team. And so we're having a more hybrid matrix team that would complement each other in that area. So they've been assigned and they will continue to be assigned, and we need to parse out those assignments, work with department heads, and really figure out what the work plan and where the assignments will land, but they're going to be positioned to serve across each service team and then connect with departments. So it's a continued practice, but establishing more parity under this new organizational alignment framework for 2026 and beyond.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
But
No,
if someone else on that point, because then I'm going to switch to community relations. I just want just more clarification.
Thank you.
Information on that position, but we can stay with the Ways and Health Equity if someone else.
And I guess, is it fair to say that everything is not equal? You know, if we're looking at communities that are disproportionately been impacted, right, where we see greater disparities,
Yeah.
that maybe we need to be a little bit more intentional in that area to create better outcomes, right? And so,
That's
and
correct,
that's the
Madam
work of the departments to be able to do that.
That's correct, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to highlight what you just said. And if we're successful, we got to understand that down the road in the future, then we move on to the next disparity. That it isn't a fix to any one group.
That's the way I understood it, and so I'm glad to have clarity in it. When we have to focus on a certain group, then we should. So that's great.
Okay. Commissioner Zong, and I think you have another question.
Yeah,
right?
and then I do have on
Okay.
community relations, but on this, I mean, whatever you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually say that, you know, through, hopefully through the work of the RIAs, that it's actually taking a cross-sectional look across the county about how or where we are serving communities very well and where we are not. So I think we should actually be using that approach that, you know, we can't have just one person trying to solve a complex system of the county, right? But it's actually embedding that into all of our working practices that the departments have to look at is like, who are they serving very well? Who shows up disproportionately based off on our population? So those are things that I would say as department directors and leaders that I would hope that they would work with the RIAs to help identify those areas of work.
Okay. Okay, let me just say this. We have two commissioners have a question, and we are like 7 minutes over. We was doing so good.
I know. I'll be very quick.
But, so we're gonna do, should we do Commissioner McGuire and then Commissioner?
If you could do me first.
Okay, Miller.
So I just want to note, though, and just say that with the RIAs and the work that they're doing, it's not work that we're going to see immediate change from. The work that they're doing that's long-term, right? So making those changes, so I just wanted to note that.
Yep, thank you. Commissioner McGuire?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we can, we're going to keep learning about this, but this is it's a new position on community relations, which I'm super excited about, and I'm hoping and guessing that this person will coordinate with communications as well, so that we let community know what we're all doing and working with community, and like I said, I couldn't be more excited about that, and maybe we can just know that I'll be anxious to keep hearing more of how we integrate that throughout the county, this position. And if there's anything more you want to add, but I know we're under time, Madam Chair, but I do appreciate this new position.
Okay, would you like to do a closing statement?
I would just say thank you, Board, for your time and your attention. And while some of the answers we have today may feel a little bit incomplete, I would ask for your patience and your grace because there is a vision, there's intentionality, and with your support, we have strong leadership to get us across the finish line to make this vision of organizational alignment a reality and to create more balance within the county manager's office as well as the chief operating office area. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And next on the agenda, we have the county board, Bianca Fusini. Oh, there she is. Welcome, thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners, County Manager Becker. My name is Bianca Fusini. I am a budget analyst in the finance office, and today I'd just like to present briefly on the county board budget, which can be found on pages 29 to 36 of your workbook. So the county board budget remained pretty steady for 26 and 27. You'll see that there are no new FTEs. Your complement stays the same, but there were some slight changes in the budget. in the areas of the operational increases, as you're going to hear against or from all departments countywide. There are the increases to your budget for the recently settled contracts, the updated classification and compensation plans, as well as the general wage adjustments. Also, the changes for the informational services and property management expenses have also been increased in your budget for 26 and 27. One other area that I just wanted to announce or talk about is the allocation in 2026 and 2027 to support commissioner responsibilities, innovation, and constituent inquiries. This new funding will help ensure that the board office has sufficient funds to carry out their responsibilities as they meet with constituents, serve on external boards, and attend committee meetings and conferences to bring new and innovative ideas to advance Ramsey County's mission, vision, and goals. So at this time, I am happy to stand for any questions that you might have on that budget.
Any questions? Seems like we're...
Just, it sounds as if there really is no major changes except for the distribution, the redistribution of the IT costs and all of the other costs and count and class, so.
Correct.
I just wanted to clarify that we're not skipping along, just that there was not much big stuff going on here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Thank you so
Commissioner.
much for your presentation
Yeah.
on that part.
And at this time, if I may, I'm happy to continue on and present on the 2026-27 addenda and the proposed fee schedule.
Okay.
Excellent. So I was starting with the addenda that you all received you would like, the fee schedule?
No, that is on top.
Fee schedule. Okay, so the proposed 2026-2027 fee schedule has been distributed. Addenda? Okay, all right, sorry, we will start with the addenda. Apologies for that. So entries on the September addenda represent errors, fixes, or items that were missed and represent changes to what is presented in the 2026-2027 proposed budget book. I think it's important to note that whereas FTEs, appropriations, and revenues have changed, the levy did not. And then this document will be posted on the Ramsey County website budget page. And any additional changes that happen to the 2026-2027 proposed budget then will be brought forward to the commissioners in December with the December addenda. And at this time, I'll pose and see if there's any questions on just the one-page addenda piece.
Any questions?
Yeah, my question would be that since we're getting this, and this is quite a lot, and it's something hard to follow along, question I have is when the different presentations are happening, will they refer that a change has been made or there's been addendums that we're following along?
Apologies, Commissioner. Just the addenda is just the first page. I clipped them both together just to have them in one packet. So
Gotcha.
apologies for that. Just the top page with those few items is the actual September addenda document. And absolutely, departments can certainly speak to those during their presentation, or you can ask about those during their presentations. And again, anything that changes in between what's in the budget book, what's on this September addenda that happens between now and December, we'll bring to you on a new addenda piece at that point as well.
Okay, CFO.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner. Just to highlight on here, thank you, Ms. Fusini. That was a good overview. So basically what this does is, in the budget, we missed some FTEs. That first section, countywide organizational alignment, we have to have the FTEs to fill those positions. We have the funding and not the FTEs, so that fixes that. The second section is we made an error in finance
of not accounting for one of our FTEs through all of this, and we are fixing that, and it is paid for in there. We just needed to fix it to make sure we had the funding. And then we're aligning technically, like basically these are almost all technical alignments. Same with the county attorney's office. We are trying to align all of the money with what they were anticipating. So what happens when the budget book comes out, people are like, oh, wait a second, you missed this one thing, or we realize in our system we didn't have the FTEs. And then the last one is also one that we missed changing when things were moving around. So I just wanted to level set on that, that these are pretty technical. I didn't mention this in my presentation, so if you'd like others to mention that, we would need to
Now
give
that
them
I
the
know it's
direction.
1 page and not 50,
Yes.
I'm completely comfortable with this.
Okay, great.
All right.
Fee schedule.
Ms.
Fee schedule.
Cassini. Okay, we got
Madam
the fee
Chair.
schedule. Commissioner Zone.
I just have a quick question about the overall FTEs. So it's 1,038.4. I thought that ours was 4,000 staff, or is it just 4,000 staff and not FTEs usually?
It's just an error.
Or is this just the county manager proposed
It's an
budget?
error.
I know, I was like,
Madam Chair, it's an error. I see it.
Okay, yep,
We'll
we'll get
fix
that
it.
corrected out.
Sorry about that.
so then what is it then?
We won't have to, it's just the total number at the top is
Oh,
incorrect.
okay.
We will fix that and resend it out.
Okay, thanks.
Great catch.
Thank you.
Addendum to the addendum.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
That must be wrong.
So we're going to move on to the
Fee schedule.
fee schedule.
The fee schedule, thank you. To the much larger document that you have in front of you, I think it's maybe about 70 pages long. So this is the proposed 2026-2027 fee schedule. You'll see on the document in front of you that it will list the fee description, the department, the area, the current, like 2025 proposed fee, and then it will also list any proposed change from 2025 to 2026, and any proposed changes from 2026 to 2027 to give us the 2027 fee. As you look throughout the document, rows highlighted yellow are going to represent where a fee has changed. Now, don't worry, we're not going to go through every line in front of you here tonight. You all have some time to look through this. You can sit with this for a few months. You can take a look at it. You can certainly ask departments questions about their fees and their presentations to you. You can reach out to finance as well if you have questions about any of the specific fees, and we can work on getting those answers to you. We will also post this on the Ramsey County website on the budget page. And then when you approve and adopt the 26-27 budget in December, the fee schedule will then be approved at that time as well. So you do have time to look at it. We can talk about any of the questions that you have within it.
I have one quick question about a cassette. A cassette? Yes.
Oh,
Are we really using cassettes and?
that's a great question. Did you see that on?
It's on the first page, at the bottom. In the county attorney's office.
I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah.
I can certainly ask
check
them,
in
or
on
we
that.
can try to get some more clarification for you on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
Yes, I have a question as to, do we have anywhere listed in here the total revenue from each one of these fees, so that when we're looking at them, we know the impact, say, of going from 25 cents to 50 cents? Well, there's only 5 of those every year, so it's $1.25. Or is it that, no, we do tens of thousands of that, and that's a market increase in revenue?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for the question. So there's a few different ways you'll see this. You'll see it in certain budgets. For example, the Parks budget has a bullet that says how much the total fee increases increased their revenue in that year, and you can ask more about the details on that. You will also see it in the revenue lines on fee for services, the increase. It is not by fee line item, it is by total. We can follow up with departments on if, I assume they have like another set of columns here that says how much they calculated that for the budget, so they should know.
Yeah, because it would be good to know how many, while we can't nickel and dime our way out of any budget, but the idea of knowing how many people this will impact, to what level, and then to what benefit is important to know. Is the juice worth the squeeze, so to speak?
Okay, Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we're not going to go line by line here, but maybe you could just direct where do I ask my questions. And my one I just have immediately is there's an annual pass for snowmaking. Is that for the area where they do snowmaking? You're not going to pay to snowmake, although we pay to snowmake, and then they can go ski on it. So it just looks like a really weird title for snowmaking, that you're going to pay for snowmaking. I guess unless, is that what we do pay? Do groups pay to have there be snow on the, maybe they do pay to have the snow on the routes so that they can have an event there? Is
Madam
that
Chair,
correct?
Commissioner McGuire, that's a great question. We
Yeah,
can certainly ask Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I'm kind of answering my own question here. So maybe they do pay to have snow made on the trail. I didn't know that. They could do that. But anyway, we can just note that that's a question, and I'll just get an answer later. So, but anyway, okay. Thanks. I do support it. I support our snowmaking area, and I support Battle Creek. So, but I'm curious.
Yeah, Commissioner, save your question for Thursday when
Mark
Director
gets here.
McCabe was
yes,
here.
Great.
Yes.
I'll ask him then. Thanks. Yeah.
Any additional?
And that's all that I have to present at this point. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate the report. We're going to move on to Jeanette Kania. Vote Kania. Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, County Manager Becker. My name is Jeanette Boyd Kania, County Treasurer from the Finance Department. And today I have the pleasure of giving you an overview of the county bond financing and the debt budget. As our CFO, Alex Kutzer, mentioned, that the Treasury team came to being a year and a half ago. This investment has been busy, this team has been busy creating efficiencies within the Finance Department and countywide in making sure that our revenue is accounted for, we are investing the money that we earn, and also making sure that we have the cash management situation in place so that the departments can do the work that they need to do. First, I'm going to level set by kind of going over what the bond is, what the bond issuance process is, then I'll talk about the numbers, and then give you a little bit overview of some of the investments we've done, initiatives that we have done community-wise. What is a bond, and why do we issue bonds? A bond is a financial instrument used by governments and corporations to raise capital. When an investor purchases a bond, they are lending money to the issuer, who agrees to two things. One, to repay the principal face value on a specified maturity date, and also two, to provide interest payments at a fixed rate, known as the coupon rate. Our CFO likes to compare it with a mortgage, where you take out a mortgage to buy a house, and the requirements are you pay your principal payment and the interest payments on a monthly basis. In this sense, for us, when we issue bonds or sell our bonds, we have a requirement or a pledge on our tax levy to pay twice a year. We pay February 1st, we pay the principal payment and interest payment, and in August 1st, we pay another interest payment. So those are the two requirements annually that we're required to do. And I'll be talking about the debt service payment later. For us, the Treasury team, we wear two hats. When we're selling bonds, we wear the hat where we issue bonds and we have the responsibility to pay back our debt. On the other side of the hat, we wear the second hat where we invest in bonds, we buy bonds, we want to make money for the county. And in either way, we're trying to get the best deal. When we sell the bonds, we would like to get the lowest interest as possible. When we buy bonds, we like to get the highest interest as possible, so we make more money for our county. And the different kinds of bonds that we work with, we have government bonds. Those are issued by national governments, considered low risk. And then we also have municipal bonds. Those are issued by states, cities, and counties. These are often tax exempt bonds. And why do we invest in bonds? As our CFO mentioned, in the last 2 years, we have been very intentional in investing. We have bought a lot of bonds. Why do we invest in bonds? The bonds provide a very stable income. It provides predictable interest payments on a monthly basis. So every month we earn interest on our bonds that we buy. It also provides diversification. They help balance our investment portfolio. And also it provides capital preservation. Bonds are generally less volatile, and they're less volatile than equities or other risky securities. Now that I've explained what bonds is and what we do with the bonds, I'm going to talk through the process of issuing bonds here at our county. The Treasury team, in collaboration with the budget team, Bianca and team, issue bonds annually to fund the capital improvement projects identified for that year. We follow a very specific timeline. They're very key timelines and specific dates that we have to adhere to. First, we come to the board for approval, which will be coming in the next couple of weeks for the 2026 A bond. We have public hearing where we tell the residents of Ramsey County that we're going to be issuing the bonds, and it is really a debt to the county. We also engage with our rating agencies. We engage with S&P and Moody's, and they are the ones that will give us a credit rating. For the last over 20 years, Ramsey has maintained a AAA rating, which is the highest rating you can get. And that has helped us to get lower interest when we sell our bonds, and also increases our investor confidence. The final step is when we sell our bonds, we work with our municipal advisors, our bond counsel, to put our bonds into market. And we typically pick the lowest bidder for that. The lowest interest rate that we get, we will go with that. This process typically takes 6 months. We are going to be starting the 2026 A bond maybe in the next week or so, starting September through February of next year when we finally send our bonds. And we don't do this alone. It involves departments across the county. It involves our municipal advisors, Baker Tilly, and also a bond counsel, Kutak. Now I'm going to talk about the bond, the 2026 bond, which is going to be revenue that will be used for the CIP projects that have been identified for 2026 budget. We'll be issuing $31.5 million in bonds. 13 million of that will be for the new projects or regular projects. 6.5 million is going to be for the maintenance project. When we invest in projects, we have a requirement to maintain them, so that's the 6.5 million. And then 12 million will be going towards our ERP, our new ERP system that we are starting to implement. Our debt levy increase from 2025 to 2026 is 5%. And this was very intentional. In 2023, the county made a strategic decision to increase the levy in response to rising infrastructure investment costs. This adjustment was designed to ensure sustainable funding for critical infrastructure projects, to mitigate the volatility in capital improvement financing, and to provide more predictable fiscal approach for long-term planning. By smoothing out fluctuations in available funds, the revised levy supports our commitment to maintaining and upgrading essential public assets, roads, bridges, facilities, utilities, while safeguarding financial resilience for future generations. Now I'm going to dive into the numbers. You will find that in page 107 to 111 in your budget book. As I mentioned, when we sell bonds, we do get the bond proceeds, and these are used to fund the current CIP projects. Our outstanding bonds as of December 31 of 2024 was $231.2 million. And I will break it up to the different categories that we have. The general county outstanding bond was $170.7 million. The library is at $14.2 million. Recycling board and energy is at $30.7 million. And the solid waste facility is 13.5. Then we also have the Minnesota Public Finance, where we're collaborating to put together a pedestrian connection bridge. That is at $2 million. Of all this, 3 of them provide revenue. We do not levy for the recycling, board and energy, solid waste, or the MPFA. Those contribute revenue for us to pay that debt service. Debt service payments for 2026 is going to be at $27.1 million for 2026 and $25.7 million for 2027. Again, I'm going to break it down. For the general county, it is $21.8 million. In 2026, in 2027, it is $20.3 million. Solid waste facility is $1 million, $1.02 million in both years. Recycling energy board is 1.98 in 2026, 1.97 in 2027. The MPFA debt services are $387,000, right around for 26, and $391 for 27. Library has its own levy too, where we have 2 debt service, which is $2.02 million in 2026, and very similar in 2027, 2.03, for a total of 27.1 in 2026 and 25.7 in 2027. And as I mentioned before, 3 of those, the Recycling Energy Board, Solid Waste, and MPFA, all provide revenue for our debt service. Finally, I just want to share with you some of the equity and community initiatives that we have been working on. In 2023, the county was awarded a bond market and racial equity grant. This was by the Public Finance Initiative. This has funded a consultant-led review of a couple of our CIP processes. We worked with the budget CIP team to do some of this work. The CIP, some of the things that were reviewed was, 1, the CIP process. Some of the work that was done was interviewing of the department heads, interviewing of the advisory commission, and reviewing of the selections of the projects to be funded. They also looked at the project allocation methods to all the different projects that we have, and also took a look back on all the projects that have been awarded in the last 5 years to show the different districts and which projects were awarded to which district. We are now currently on the final steps or the stages of receiving the report and the recommendations that they came up with, and this will be shared with the board in the next couple of weeks. The next phase of this project is going to focus on community engagement. And finally, I want to acknowledge and extend my sincere appreciation to the Treasury team who works so hard every day to make sure that the work is done. In the audience today, I have Linda Sutton and Propern who do all the back-end accounting and analytical work. The collaboration from the CIP team, Bianca, we've worked very closely with you. We appreciate that. And then Alex and Susan, whose leadership has been very instrumental to the work that we do. A sincere appreciation goes to the county manager, Lynn Becker, and the board for your continued support of our work. And together we are building a more transparent, equitable, and financially sound future for our county. Thank you. With that, I will stand for questions.
Okay, questions? Okay, Commissioner Jefferson, I haven't done that in a long time.
I have a number of questions. I apologize for that. One of them is, One of them is that there had been discussion earlier this calendar year at the federal level around changes in policy around municipal bonds. And I guess my question is, one, do we have an update on where that lies? Is that still a concern, or has that kind of quietly faded?
Commissioner, that's a good question. Last I heard, I don't think it was successful, so I can definitely do a follow-up with the government relations team. Do you know more,
I think
Commissioner McGuire?
I'm going to
Yeah.
agree with that,
Yeah.
Madam Chair. That was one of the top issue that NACO lobbied on, AMC lobbied on. Everybody lobbied on that with our congressional delegation. And I believe it was one of the few successes is that we did not get that included, that was not included, and that was a success for us. That we do not have to pay for that bond money. It would have been a direct hit to our taxpayers.
Madam Chair, Commissioner McGuire, you're correct. That did not pass, and so we still have the tax exempt bonds.
Excellent.
Thank heaven.
My next question is that because of that discussion, there was a lot of volatility in the bond market, and I'm just wondering, because we both buy and sell bonds, were we able to capitalize on that at all?
The last 2 years have been, Madam Chair, Commissioner Jaban saying my name. We have really had a great success story in the last 2 years with having good interest rates, with buying the bonds. However, now that is kind of level setting, it's coming down. But when we go to sell the bonds, we are still at the good rate. The last bond we sold was a 3%, and that was a good rate because we have a really good credit rating.
Commissioner Jefferson?
And then my other question is just, when I look at where we're at right now, I guess this is more of a bigger strategy question, is what would be the maximum dollar or percentage of debt Ramsey County could take on without stressing our bond rating? And is there room to greater leverage our financial position? And so how?
Is that a CFO?
Is that a question for now or for later?
Madam
And
Chair,
it-
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to look for it. Madam Chair, Commissioner German Singh, I was going to look for it. We actually address it in the budget book. The state statute requires that we cannot take out, and I'm going to read it so that I don't mess it up. The statutory debt limit is 3% of the estimated market value. It's on page 107 on your budget book. And for Ramsey County, we are way below that. We haven't even reached anywhere close to that.
Yeah, and that was my question, because we're so well below all of those ratios and indicators. Like, is there an opportunity there?
So, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I would say yes, and not at this level, right? This is pretty high. I want to go back to what Director Boyne-Kania said about increasing the debt service levy for the first time in 2023 after many years of it holding steady at 20 million, 20.7 million. I know the number because that's what it was for a very long time. Now that this board has committed to increasing the debt service levy 5% each year, we can start looking at how we could leverage our bond financing across our funds to see what we could do in terms of looking at what does make sense to fund with bond financing. Only certain things are eligible and certain things should be. And it's a good way, as long as we're willing to pay for the bonds in the future, it is a good thing that we will want to look at over the next couple of years.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director. You mentioned a lot of the different bonds and what they're for, or some of the capital projects. May you include that for us too? I'm someone who needs to see it too, to also comprehend it as well. So may you provide that to us with what you had mentioned about where all the outstanding ones are and what they are. I know that in here it just kind of states the CIP bonds and then the number. But to residents and to us, that doesn't mean anything necessarily. It doesn't tell us what projects or what it is.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Zhang, yes, we can provide that to you.
Okay, thank you. And then my only other part about this conversation about the 5% is I would definitely like to just understand more, a little bit more about it. before, I would like to understand a little bit more about it, what it means and what it means for us as a, it's a tool, but also like liability or risks too in using it. So I'd just like some sort of either a memo or a meeting about it or a workshop.
Okay.
And then finally, great job. Yeah, great job on the AAA rating, some of the highest ones. When I first joined, I thought that this was just standard, but it's actually very rare for the county to receive this high standard. So great job.
Thank you.
Okay, great job. Commissioner Jefferson.
On page 110, can you explain what it means to have a negative fund balance in 25, 26, and 27? It says we have a negative 2 million, and then 1 million, and then...
Sorry, Madam Chair, Commissioners, you can, it's a contribution to the fund balance. So when it says use of fund balance, that means did we use it or did we contribute to it? And so in these cases, that means we contributed to the fund balance of this fund.
Lovely to see contributions to the fund balance. That's what I thought it meant. I wanted to shout that out.
Yes.
And then I just have one other question, which is when we're looking at our library bonds, does our current library debt service timing, or does what we currently have in our debt service for the libraries impact at all the timing or scale of future projects, or those independent decisions? Meaning, if I know that there's some discussion in my district around the Mounds View Library, it's not quite ripe yet, but I'm just wondering if there's a cadence for these bonds that we should be considering when we're thinking about future looking at those projects, or does it matter? Are they independent?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, I'm looking at Director Boyd-Camillo too. I think what I'm going to say is we like to only issue bonds once a year. It's an expensive endeavor and it takes a lot of staff time to do. And so we could issue bonds whenever you wanted. So if the library is on a different cadence, and as long as the county board had approved that, we could do it at a different time, but we like to package them together and have traditionally done that. I'm not sure that's what you're asking.
I think hopefully we would all be able to coordinate such a project to the once a year. The question I had is there any particular debt service within our particular that sector of library bonds that would limit a certain amount of projects going on, or is that no, they're all kind of part of our portfolio and one project wouldn't impact the other?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Jabrin, it is the same. It is levy, even though we levy separately for the library, it still goes to the property taxes. So it is the same levy. It's just separated to identify for the levy.
Oh, no, I think you know what I'm asking, right, Chair?
I understand your question. The answer is no.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Awesome.
Okay.
Teamwork.
Teamwork. Thanks for the clarity.
It's the end of a long day. I apologize if I'm not being clear.
Do you have any other questions? Well, we want to thank you for your presentation. Great information. Okay, Bianca Fassini, you're back up.
Hello, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Bianca Fassini, Central Finance. I am also the staff lead for the Capital Improvement Program, and today I'm happy to present on the 2026-2027 Capital Improvements Program budget. First, when County Manager Becker presented her budget proposal on September 2nd, she included a few slides highlighting the Capital Improvement Program, affectionately called the CIP. The pie chart identified all 2026 proposed capital improvement program funding sources totaling roughly $260 million. Sources of funds on that pie chart included levy, state and federal dollars, transportation funds, and bond proceeds. The presentation also included a slide that expanded upon the 2026 bond proceeds slice of $31,500,000. And thanks to Jeanette and her team for working on selling those bonds so that we can perhaps support these projects in 2026. Today, I'd like to share more about both that 2026 budget and the 2027 CIP budget, and the important work that directly supports county-responsible services by providing for spaces where work and resident support happens and maintenance of the buildings that house those spaces. Capital improvements are also critical to the budget core theme of supporting long-term fiscal health. The CIP information that I will be discussing can be found on pages 559 to 583 of your proposed 26-27 budget book. But first, I just wanted to kind of step back and talk about how we got to what is being shared with you all today. It's a rather long process. That started back in December 24 and January 25 when departments drafted and service teams submitted project requests along with rankings to finance. Requests were compiled by finance into a CIP workbook, which was distributed to all members of the Capital Improvement Program Citizens Advisory Council Committee, also called CPAC. The CPAC committee provides citizens with the opportunity to participate in the development and adoption of the Capital Improvement Program. CPAC consists of up to 14 citizens interviewed and appointed by the county board. And thank you to the county board for starting that interview process. We're like super thrilled that we have a full CIP or CPAC committee. And they do great work. The CIP workbook, in the CIP workbook, CPAC received detailed project review instructions with criteria aligning with the county's strategic priorities, and a copy of their workbook is available on the Ramsey County website budget page. In February, CPAC received racial equity training intended to educate and encourage advisory board members to utilize a racial equity lens when working with Ramsey County. In March and April, departments presented their new project major renovation project request to CPAC, and a slate of staff proposed maintenance projects was presented as well. Members of CPAC individually considered and ranked the new projects and major renovation requests. And I just wanted to stop there briefly and say that was a change that we had made from previous years. Previously, CPAC members would rate and rank the maintenance projects, and then they would just give like a yay or nay to the larger new major project requests if they perhaps fit within a strategic priority. And we felt that was a little backwards because community engagement and the input wasn't necessarily allocated to perhaps our higher dollar, more impactful projects. So for the 2026-2027 process, we switched things around and we asked CPAC to review and comment on the maintenance projects, and then the review, rate, and recommend the new project major renovation requests. So that was a process improvement that we made this year. CPAC reconvened in May to deliberate and draft their recommendations, which can be found on page 573 and 574 of the budget book. The project requests and CPAC recommendations were then shared with the county manager, and the county manager met with finance staff. She reviewed the project requests and drafted her recommendations. The 2026-2027 proposed CIP budget is then presented to the county board, so where we are today. We ask that you consider the request, and then the 26-27 CIP budget and 26 to 2031 plan is formally adopted in December of 2025. For this presentation, I will be focusing on two project types, which are the maintenance projects and the new project major renovation requests. And these are the projects that are funded with the CIP bond dollars. As we heard in the county manager's budget presentation, there are other projects and funding types within the CIP plan that get to our $260 million. And so I just wanted to take a minute and describe some of them. So per our classifications, maintenance projects are routine, planned, and predictable actions that keep assets in their original condition. So examples include pavement preservation, exterior building restoration, roof replacement, heating and cooling system replacement and repair, and/or replacement of equipment. This category also includes repairs to assets to restore to original condition and replacement of a component at the end of its useful life. The new project major renovation requests are a new or an enhancement, a renovation or a refurbishment. It could be purchase of a new land, purchase of new buildings, and or major renovation within buildings, new equipment purchases, elevators, security enhancements. Projects in this category typically have a higher price point than something that would be in the maintenance projects. You would also see that we have two different types of building improvements identified. One is when rent is paid by tenant departments to the property management department. A share is dedicated to building improvements. So we kind of show that breakdown on page 577. There are also some building improvements that are funded with $1.1 million of levy. And then that includes funding for department managed buildings where rent is not paid directly to property management. So that would be the Extension Barn, Landmark Center, Parks and Rec Building. And so you will see a breakdown of those dollars on page 578. You'll also see throughout the CIP plan projects funding with other funding sources, such as some department fund balances, federal, state, municipal dollars, wheelage tax, and loans.
All right.
Now I'd like to tell you about the projects proposed to be funded with the 2026-2027 CIP bonds. And I just want to say, and I want to be sensitive to time, and I know we're kind of running a little bit short. I could certainly read them all to you, or you have them all in front of you as well. So I just wanted then to call out the projects that are starting on towards the bottom of page 563 are the maintenance projects, and this budget is proposing funding in the amount of $6.5 million in both 2026 and 2027. If I could just call out the one that the proposal also includes holding some funds for future priorities. So it's important to note that these requests were written back in December of 2024 for 2026 and 2027. It's very possible that something comes up within 2026 or 2027 that could perhaps need some capital dollars. So we just thought it would be nice if we save some funding for maintenance projects to perhaps be used at a future time. Know that then if and when that time comes, then requests will both be presented to CPAC and then, excuse me, come back to the board.
Get you some water.
Sorry about that. Through the RBA process. Thank you. So I'm super happy that I don't have to read through all of these presentations to you now. So I just wanted to call that out. We have that in maintenance projects. And so I just wanted to pause in case there was any specific questions on any maintenance projects. If any time, we can always talk about them as well.
We're going to let you rest your voice for a minute here. Commissioner Miller.
I was just skimming through the project requests, and I noticed there's a few of them that I think we went for funding from the state. So are some of these projects, like how are they're only going to be funded through this, but have they been previous requests for grants or other funding opportunities besides just going right into our CIP?
You know, that is a great question. When we look at them, it's always nice to see a project that might have some additional funding from other other areas such as the state, but it's not a specific requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just wondering, for these here projects we have here on page 574, are these recommendations that came from the advisory committee? Or how did it come about?
So the advisory committee, we do have their recommendations within this book. There is a memo, and I'm just trying to see if I could find back in my notes where we have that. But the county manager then does take the advisory committee's recommendations when she then forms her recommendations. So what we're asking for is based on both the advisory committee and the county managers, excuse me, county managers.
Okay, can we have County Manager Becker to respond to that
Yeah, I
question?
can just quickly speak to the change, Madam Chair, if I recall right, and maybe by then Bianca can help me if I'm getting something wrong. One of the, and you're going to hear about this actually in another, next Tuesday, let's see, tomorrow, okay, a week from tomorrow, you're going to actually hear from Director Kruger about the energy savings program. She's going to be doing a policy update. So you'll see that there was $9 million here. That was part of the advisory committee's recommendation. After consultation and thinking about it, we realized maybe we could do something very similar to what the Parks Department's doing around their energy savings program and do an internal loan to them to be able to do this project instead of directly going through the CIP. So that is actually where the money was freed up for that amount that is left to be a little more flexible. Now, the other thing then we were able to add back in because of that decision as well was the Beaver Lake project as well. So those were really the changes from the recommendation. We had heard that the Beaver Lake project was very much needed, so able to find a little more money to add that back in, and then also pivoted the energy savings program to an internal loan to give us some more flexibility around the overall CIP. So did I cover some of that? I was tracking all along, all those complicated things. I'm so
Commissioner McGuire,
Yeah.
Jefferson, and then Zone.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to follow up on Commissioner Miller's question, which I think was a great one, about, any chance, any time that we think we can maybe get legislative funding from the bond, from the Capital Investment Committee, we should always be looking at that. And I think Landmark's always a good option for that because it's definitely a regional asset. And sometimes we can go for it, but sometimes the money is too little to go for a bonding request because we have really much larger bonding requests. But I think it's always good to think about maybe putting it through the legislative lens. And, the committee, the legislative team would be happy to look at that too. So I think just to have it as a checkpoint for all the CIP projects is to make sure we've just asked that question. Are there any other grants and all of those? And is there legislative funding we might be able to get? Because let me just say that counties and cities throughout the state ask for lots of projects that look like ours. They get lots of local projects throughout the state, and we might as well be asking for that as well. We don't want it to compete with our other stuff either, so that's why we just want to give it that lens. So thank you for asking that question, Commissioner Miller, and we just want to make sure it's on the radar of the CIP.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Yeah, I just wanted to use one of the projects as a way of highlighting some of the conundrums we have when we're creating these budgets. On page 564, we have the project to have safety investments within our ADC, and then the county correctional facility that would be some safety enhancements as far as detracting from potential suicidal actions. And it's a lot of money, and I would be remiss if I know that there is somebody who is looking, who may be looking at these projects and asking, why wouldn't we spend the $3.5 million at the ADC or the $5 million at the correctional facility on specific behavioral health services rather than organizing our physical spaces differently? And I just wanted to have that as an opportunity to explain why bonded funds can't be used for operational expenses and like why we have certain avenues to create revenues for certain types of things we have to do at the county, and they're not universal. Because that just glared to me of like, you know, it shows why we can't just use certain dollars for certain things. And I'm wondering if somebody could maybe explain that for somebody who's at home who's not familiar with these different funding mechanisms and our restrictions on them.
Is there someone?
Okay. Madam Chair, Commissioner, thank you for that question. I always like, you know, you get that question at your block parties. I do sometimes, oddly. So the situation is that operating fund is like what you pay for day to day. It's kind of, as Director Boynton mentioned, part of it's your mortgage and part of it's just the bills you pay every day to live in your house, right? So in property management, they're paying our utilities. In their operating budget, they're paying all of that. That is paid for with other revenue sources in the operating budget or tax levy. When you look at the capital budget, these are assets that should be funded over time, 10 to 20 years. And we always want to think about the generation that's using those should be paying for those. So if a building is going to be used for the next 20 years, we should bond for it over 20 years so that each generation of Ramsey County residents pays their piece of that over time, right? Because if you pay for it up front with cash, then one group of Ramsey County residents paid for it. So that is the piece of it. The debt service is the piece in the budget, in the operating budget, that pays off the bonds. That's your payment towards your mortgage, essentially towards the bond. So capital projects, as Bianca mentioned, there are some that are more maintenance related, they're smaller, a lot of it's like pavement and different things like that. And then there are these large projects where we need to think about our elevators, we need to think about our windows, our roofs, we need to take care of the assets that are entrusted to us, and that can't be paid for with operational money. I mean, you could, but it's not the right way to fund it. You want to fund it with capital and then pay that off each year. So that's the difference between it. And when you issue bonds, I can't take that money. It is illegal to take that money and pay for staff, right? I can't just be like, oh, hey, thanks for that $20 million. I'm going to go create some positions. It doesn't work that way. You have to do it with, that's why we have bond counsel. That's why we have people you have to report out. You can only use it for the stated purpose of what you issued the bonds for in the time frame that the bonds were issued for.
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
Thank you. That's exactly what I was hoping somebody in your position could articulate. So I'm ready to answer that at the next block party.
Awesome. I could YouTube it for you and then you can.
Yeah, that'd be great. I love that.
Show it and share it, yes. What's the, Commissioner's on?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for leading this process and convening community members to think through this. And of course, extending just gratitude to all the folks who are on CPAC as well, because if they didn't do this work, we would probably end up having to shift through this through multiple meetings as well too. So just wanted to extend the gratitude and thank you for helping lead this community advisory group, as well as the community members who put in a lot of time and effort into thinking this through. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had another question, which was on page 568, the energy savings program, that interloan, and the internal loan. This may be more of a question for the county manager. That's quite an investment, and I think it's important for us to be able to talk about what do we anticipate the future energy cost savings from that, along with it just being the right thing to do.
Yeah,
do we have
thank
any
you,
idea?
Commissioner, Madam Chair. I don't want to steal the thunder from the policy discussion on a week from Tuesday, but if you're interested in advance, we can send it over. But it's in the queue to show up here on.
More to come.
Yeah, a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
So, yep.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, are we done? More
Just,
you need to share, close us out?
Yeah, just two more things, just really wanted to mention quickly. In the major projects, you'll see that in 2026, the budget is requesting $25 million versus the typical $13 million for our newer major projects, and that that difference of 12 million is for the ERP project. So I know Alex has spoken about that numerous times, so just wanted to call out the difference there. And I also wanted to call out kind of to Commissioner McGuire's point as far as having some dollars available for legislative priorities. This budget is also looking to reserve some additional, some of the bond dollars for the new major projects to perhaps use along those manner as well. So, yeah.
Madam Chair, could I just add?
Yes, please.
If you're going to spend time, the majority of this money is in these major projects, and they're all laid out. People worked really hard on these. There's some major investments in here in our buildings, as Commissioner Jevon Singh pointed out, in our safety, in making files digital, in generators, in so many things. And you're welcome to ask individual departments questions on these capital projects as well when they are here. And I just want to be grateful that we are a home rule charter county. That means we can bond for that ERP system, which we'll use over 20 years, and it's a really great way to pay for that system. So both are big deals in this capital budget. Worth a review.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much. And I think what we're going to do, if you would like to do some closing statements or, okay. So we are pretty much done, but before we leave, let me just share that the county board, again, want to encourage resident participation in the budget process. We do want to hear from you. So there will be 2 public hearings that are scheduled. Both public hearings will be held in this building, and free parking will be provided to residents who attend in person. And I'm going to make an assumption that they can go to Ramsey County.us to get that information around the parking location and that part of it. Residents are also welcome to submit written comments at any time. All written comments received are shared with each commissioner. Written comments are considered as carefully as comments made verbally in public hearing, and you can sign up to comment at a hearing, as well as submit written comments on the Ramsey County US website. The first public hearing will be on Monday, September the 22nd at 5 p.m. And then on Tuesday, September 23rd, the board will set the maximum property tax levy. The second public hearing will be held on Thursday, December the 11th at 6 p.m. Prior to that hearing, residents and business will receive their proposed property tax statement. This will include details on the proposed levy for all the taxing jurisdictions, county, city, school board, and others, and provide details on how these proposals impact your property. Residents and businesses owners should look at that information in the mail in mid to late November. Again, I want to thank everyone who presented today. Tomorrow, the Budget Committee of the Whole will be around information and public records service team, beginning at 1 p.m. with the board meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for the presentation. Board members, it's been a long evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Good job.
Good job. We are now adjourned.